Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels. And I'm Todolini. Hello. I tried.
Is that the plan? Are you just gonna pretend to be him for the rest of the podcast?
I'm gonna pretend to be him. Fuck.
Are we gonna Migi and Dali this shit?
Yeah, it's gonna be exactly like that. Hey guys, it's Spuddle. I hate Chainsaw Man. The anime specifically.
People on Bird app.
GoopTuber.
He couldn't make it this time. He's too busy making his Higurashi videos.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't believe that the Spuddle, the Totolini, didn't want to watch Berserk of Gluttony with us. How could anyone not want to talk about that show? That very memorable show.
Truly, it perplexes the brain, but we're here, so it's just gonna be the two of us. We're pulling the biggest Castaway anime throwback possible, back where it all began. Two bros talking about seasonal anime. Hopefully, it will not take 5 hours this time.
It's like those fucking Super Mario 64 challenges, like no A button. We're doing Totoless for the fall 2023. Yeah, it's the Totoless challenge.
Any it's fall 2023 any percent speedrun.
Yeah, there we go, and we're gonna nail it this time. So
yeah, and unfortunately the speedrun will be automatically hitched up by talking about Undead Unluck for 30 minutes.
Yeah, so that's one of the few shows this block that's actually worth talking about, and it's one that I was personally the most excited for. And the reason why is because the director is Yuki Yase. I always confuse him with Yuki Yaku, who is the Tomozaki author, but it's Yuki Yase. He's an ex-Shaft director, and he directed Makaku City Actors, then Zaregoto, then he moved to David Pro, and I'm not sure if he's freelance or if he actually works at David Pro, but then he did Fire Force Season 1, and now he's doing Undead Unluck. And I was hesitantly excited for this one, because I heard a lot of stuff about it was bringing all the Shaft ticks back. It looks just like a Shaft anime, you guys. But there was a part of me that hesitated, because although I haven't seen Makaku City Actors, aside from some brief clips of it, I watched a fair bit of the first episode, actually, on a whim while working on the Call of the Night video. I thought it looked pretty good, actually. It does the character art and colors in a very unique way, and I liked it. But what I'm most familiar with his directing in is the Zaregoto anime, which is the single worst directed Shaft anime that I know of, as well as being coincidentally the worst animated one. The Zaregoto anime is visually, at times, incoherent. At other times, it looks like a GameCube game, because what... I know this is a bit off topic, but I'm getting my baggage out, alright? I'm letting it all loose into the world, because...
Oh god, he really is going full Toto.
Yeah. See, I just gotta, instead of having the one dog in me, the Crunchy Bagels, it's two dogs. I'm harnessed in my Toto mode. But, so Yuki Yase decided to make all the background CG. Not a bad idea on its face, because Kizu Monogatari did that, and that turned out great looking. But what he decided to do, and this is where he messed up, he decided to constantly flex the fact that he has a 3D backgrounds and can therefore also use a 3D camera. So the camera will make these extremely obnoxious movements. There's one shot that's burned into my retina of E and Kanami talking next to the cherry blossom tree. A very, a scene you can imagine as being very beautiful in the novel, because Kanami's just sitting there, enjoying the cherry blossoms. You're like, damn, it must be a pretty cool scene. Nope, the camera just goes off into the distance, focusing on a GameCube-looking tree trunk, while not focusing at all on the characters who are talking. It starts like the shot begins focused on them, but then the camera is like being dragged away, almost forced, like with this sense of gravity, just being pulled away. You're like, wait, no, focus on the characters more. They're the ones talking. That's what I want to focus on in the scene. No, you're looking at a tree now, my guy. It was very, very annoying. And it's the reason why I haven't gotten past episode 2 of the Zaragoto anime, even though I'm a huge fan of the novels. But I went into this with, some fears, some excitement. It's great. It's absolutely amazing. That's what all that build-up was for.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut more to the chase on this one. Undead Unluck is my show of the season. I liked it more than Free Reign.
Really? Okay. So that is not what I expected. Because if anyone was gonna have it as show of the season, I thought I was gonna have it. Slight spoiler alert. Nah, I still have Free Reign above this. But I will say, actually, do I say if it's my number 2? You already fucking know. It's not a secret.
Well, I'll say Free Reign's my number 2.
So we literally just inversed each other's 1 and 2, yeah. But
I mean, yeah, like Free Reign's cool and all, and it's like, it's a totally different type of show, but like this is just the vibe that I gel with more.
See, it is a show that I vibe with instinctively more than Free Reign. What I think put it above, what put Free Reign above it to me is that Free Reign was able to take something that I don't usually vibe with and drag me into it. And I was like, damn, I actually like being dragged into this. I'm not kicking and screaming at all. I'm just enjoying the ride. Whereas this is something I instinctively vibe with, but wasn't as emotionally powerful of an experience as Free Reign. Though to be fair, Free Reign also has the advantage of being 4 times the length of this premiere. So it could go either way. I could see this overtaking Free Reign in time.
Yes, but inversely, Free Reign did not have a moment where the main character flew around the city by shooting blood out of his
that was hilarious.
Cut off leg sockets.
Yeah, so Undead Unluck is at its core about the 2 main characters. I need to get their name. Actually, you probably have them written down. You always do.
Yeah, Fuko and Andy.
Yeah, Fuko and I should have remembered Andy, but Fuko and Andy. And Fuko is a girl who she's like the protagonist of all the detective stories, where as soon as like everything around her is just unlucky and is activated by touching her. And there are different types of contacts that give different amounts of unluck, but it's partially proportional on the length by which you touch her, for which you touch her rather. And so
yeah, her epic skin to skin contact is
you'll
dangerous.
Die.
Yeah, well,
it's that level of unlucky. Yeah. You will die if you touch her.
Yeah, well, like varying levels. Like skin to skin is like one thing that'll kill you, but like if she kisses you, that's like it is super death. Like not just you, a shit ton of people die.
Yeah, and her epic tragic backstory is it all happened when she was 8 years old. She was her parents were wishing her goodbye at an airport, and they're rubbing up against her, nuzzling her, being like, you're my cute little daughter, and we're gonna, this is the last time we're seeing each other for a while. And they get onto the airplane. A bolt of lightning strikes the airplane, and it explodes in front of her eyes. The now traumatized Fuko's eyes.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, this is
that got really metal really quickly.
This is more tragic than anything that happens to Free Reign. Like, her parents are dead, and they like died in front of her, and she thinks she's the reason for it.
Yeah, and assuming her powers are legit, which they seem to be, for like, I can't imagine them not being.
It would be hilarious if it were nothing but a series of coincidences, but given the logic of the show,
yeah.
It must be that she caused it. I mean, there's probably
without knowing it.
If I were to guess a narrative reason, I would say that the like her parents dying specifically is may had some foul play involved, but I have a feeling that that'll become a plot point narrative Yeah, it's later
That
on
is
in the
something
narrative.
that could very well happen because it is the very first one. Maybe that was the trigger for what caused the rest of the unlock, where the person who was or maybe the person was, injecting it into her without her knowing, and that was the test run, the big test run that started it all. Who knows?
Yeah.
But ever since then, she realized what caused that to happen, realized it was, albeit not, intentionally, nonetheless, through the consequence of her existing and being touched. She was, that was responsible for it, even though it wasn't
we can
her
only
fault.
presume that her body count has risen since then because
It absolutely
she
has.
says in vague terms. I don't remember if she like specified anyone else in particular, but I think in vague terms she has implied that multiple people have since then died around her every time she's been touched.
Well, I mean, she has to have had more people touch her because when she's 8 years old, she probably isn't going to connect the dots and say, oh, it's because they touched me. She has to have quite a large body count before she connects the dots and goes, oh, wait, they can't touch me or else they die.
What is the common denominator among all of these deaths?
And it's gotten to the point where she can't cut her hair. Or rather, no one can, because if they touch her hair, they die. And it results in this beautiful mane of Rapunzel hair, absolutely gorgeous. I'm not building this up for any particular reason. Don't mind me. I just just casually bringing it up. Nothing tragic happens to it later.
It's not like something like the other main character just so happened to be a hairstylist and carries around with him a set of barber tools that he uses to do something that caused Crunchy to cry and piss and shit and cum all at once.
Listen, as the guy who made the infamous second channel rant, just grow your hair out, TBH, I will say that, I was looking at the airplane explosion completely unmoved, saw that hair get chopped off, I was bawling on the floor. It was like my parents had died in that plane explosion, frankly. It was that level of trauma.
I wrote in my notes, like even before I actually saw the episode, because I saw the clip of this trending on Twitter when the first episode of Undead Unluck came out, and I as soon as I saw this scene, I wrote in my notes before I even saw the episode, this cripples the bagel.
It absolutely did. Even you have to admit, right? It was downgrade of the century.
I in this context, yes, because only because you're going from comically long Rapunzel hair to her now standard shortcut. But in the context of the narrative, you understand why it has to happen.
Yeah, like in the context of the narrative, it's a good moment because she, hates the way she looks with her hair. Like that was her big worry with Andy. Like he said, all right, take off your clothes. We're gonna see what part of your body is the one that causes the most unluck. And she's all scared about that. And you go, oh yeah, that's understandable. But no, it's not necessarily because she'd be naked and he'd be touching him. It's because that necessitate taking off her beanie, which would, or no, it wasn't the beanie covering it. It was she tucked it into her shirt, I think.
Yeah.
And so
I think she did both.
Yeah,
because it's so long,
partially.
she tucks part of it into underneath her hat and then the rest of it like down her jacket.
Yeah, and so he takes off the jacket and sees the hair, and that devastates the Fuko. And so like from a writing perspective, it was good writing.
Very adorable to see. Yeah, after she got the haircut, it was adorable to see her reaction to it and like purse up a smile on her lips because she looks in her perspective. I guess she thought that looked cuter, to each their own, and she looks cute in either way.
Bro, every time Fuko says zombie, I just, my heart melts. I never knew someone could say the word zombie so cutely, yet here we are.
Fuko is great. I mean, we glossed over the fact that the show opens with her wanting to kill herself.
Yeah, we kind of probably should have started with that one.
Yeah, so this is years after the incident with her parents and a presumed something what like 10 years of unluck.
Yeah,
What
like,
how old is
well,
she?
she was 8 when the accident happened. So here, let me look. She is 18. So yeah, literally 10 years. You were right on the money.
All right, yeah, so 10 years of unluck have gone by and she's just finished her favorite manga and now she's like, "Well, I'm satisfied with my life. I think I'm going to just jump off this bridge now. Just gonna straight off myself."
But not if Andy has anything to say about it. Because he learns about her powers. She's like, or rather, she doesn't intend to learn about her powers, but she
Well,
tells
he does
him.
intend to learn. He just
Well,
wants to
he
learn
does
it for
eventually.
the sake of killing himself.
Yeah. So what happens is, I was sort of getting mixed up. But so she says, "Listen, if you touch me, like, bad things are gonna happen. You're gonna die." And the first time you see the scene, you're kind of like, "Oh, it can't be that bad," unless you know the premise already, obviously. But actually, funny you say, I say that. The first time I watched the episode, I was actually scrolling through it because of unrelated reasons, but nonetheless, I didn't know that the hook was that every time he touched her, he'd die. So I went into that being like, "Oh, she's just bluffing in this scene, right? Like, she just doesn't want him to save her." Then he puts himself on the edge of the building and he falls off. She's like, "Oh no, it's activating again." I'm like, "Oh, he literally dies if he touches her." And then he falls off and gets he becomes blood splatter on a train window. He's just coincidentally runs into him at the same time that the edge of the building ceiling is crumbling. And it's got perfect
Yeah,
comedic
but thankfully
timing.
for the show has a lot of great comedically timed moments. But thankfully for our boy Andy, whereas Fuko is the unluck, he is the undead. He cannot be killed no matter how hard he tries, and he's been alive for so long that he desperately wants to find something to end his undead.
Which he thinks Fuko will be the key to. That if he can just activate her unlock in just the right way, he'll finally be able to pass on. And by the end of the episode, the unlock has already gotten to the point of meteors crashing into the earth, and he's still kicking. So clearly,
Yeah,
clearly
so
this is gonna take a while.
Already we have scaled Fuko and Andy to Madara level, so the power scaling of this show goes crazy.
Bro, by the end, we're gonna be seeing multiversal collapse even once they I don't know, have sex. That's what's gonna happen.
They're gonna bang,
the entire
and the
world
entire
ends.
multiverse is gonna implode on itself.
Yeah, that's gonna be the finale of the season.
The joke at the end where Andy is like, "Well, so if a kiss brings a meteor down, I guess we gotta have sex next to bring something even worse." And then immediately cut to Fuko running away, even after she had just named him and like got really close to him, and be like, "Hey, you know what? You're not so much of a bad guy, Mr. Undead Andy Man." And then immediately cuts to just running away with a dust cloud kicking it behind her as he chases after her.
What's even funnier is that, like, he's not. They're running a big oval around the fountain. And, like, he could totally cut that corner if he wanted to catch up to her. No, he just keeps on following the circle and then eventually overtakes her.
Just overtakes her and doesn't even touch her. He just runs past her.
Bro just wanted to jog.
It's that sense of humor that makes me love this show so much. It's these two characters. When Andy first dies, he regenerates himself. And the scene is baller as fuck, by the way. He shoots blood out of his neck to fly around. And then his spine shoots out from the bottom of his neck and then starts reforming and regenerating muscles first. And this fucking beautifully I guess grungy animated scene. I was gonna say gory, but I guess that just kind of comes with the territory.
The entire
it's not
show
like a violent gory.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not like it's
over the top
gory.
violent. It's comedic gore, and it's
Yeah,
perfect.
like JoJo is like over the top gory, whereas this is this is very very goofy. Like he uses blood to fly, like as jet
He
propulsors.
literally becomes Super Meat Boy, jumping atop all the buildings in town, just splurting blood as a jetpack. It's great.
Yeah, and when he regenerates that first time, and he regenerates completely naked. Uh, his sensor bar for his dick is a loincloth, like flowing in the breeze, and it's used in two very creative ways. The first time, Fuko is so scared by his regeneration and him coming onto her more that that she nut punches him the first time, and it breaks the first layer of the loincloth and like a glass shatter effect, which was great. But then the second time, when they're up on the top of that building, and he's like he's gonna say, I'm gonna drop you if you don't if you let me figure out your power more. And she's like, yo, whatever, I was gonna kill myself anyway, so go ahead and drop me. And so instead of dropping her, he just swings her around like so long gay Bowser, and she's like getting more and more scared and freaked out, and to the point where she's like, all right, fine, I'll tell you, and like really adorably, by the way. And then his loincloth flies off of his off his groin and flies into her face as he's swinging her around. It's very Shaft-esque.
Yeah, speaking of Shaft-esque, and I did have that scene screenshotted, by the way. But uh I guess it's time to talk about the Shaft ticks, because it does in fact have those. You can see the Shaft influence. The biggest one, which was very Akiyuki Shinbo, surprisingly. It was more Akiyuki Shinbo feeling than Shaft because of the lighting. There's a lot of fixations on like super close-ups of a single eyeball, but it's done with this sort of high contrast lighting, sort of like a paler and brighter. And it feels like a shot straight out of, I forget what the show is called, but it's that one show that Shinbo directed where he was able to go full like all out right before joining Shaft. Yeah, like completely forget what it's called, but wait, no, I think it's called The Undertaker. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it feels like a shot straight out of that, and there's a whole lot of those throughout the episode. It also has Shaft's sense of cutting, like, you know, there's occasional
The lightning cuts.
Yeah, there's like even the first shot of the show
dude,
with
like
the
moves
airplane.
around, like moves around in between the flashes of lightning and the storm inside the building.
There's like,
I thought that was cool.
yeah, these brief cuts that go by very rapidly, and then even the first shot in the airplane, like I was saying, it feels very Shaft-esque. There's some parts where even the lighting feels like that. There's this one shot of fucking Andy crouched atop the building that for some reason just felt like it was out of Shaft. It's because of the specific way it was almost flatly lit. And so you do see those little sparks. The OP specifically literally has a shot lifted straight from the Zetsubo Season 2 opening that I posted about on my community tab, where in the Zetsubo OP, it's Nozomu Toshiki with all the, I think they're like Buddha statues in the background going by with the characters' faces plastered on them. And then in the Undead Unluck OP, it's Andy with all the bones going by in the background. And the entire OP feels straight out of Shaft, by the way. Probably because a Shaft guy storyboarded it, and then more Shaft guys animated it. Gee, I wonder why it turned out Shaft-like.
It's that one guy from the video that disappeared off the face of the earth for like 5 years. Tatsuya Oishi.
Yeah, Tatsuya Oishi. He did animation for the opening, and then the storyboarder, I forget his name, but he's also a Shaft guy.
Yeah, wasn't that the first thing Tatsuya worked on in like 3-5 years? At least
ever since
he was credited
Kizuriketsu.
for in anime.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah, and that was like 2017, right? 2016.
I think the final movie, I think it was 2017. It might have been 2018. I can go check right now. It's not a big deal. But
Yeah, well, yeah, like around
2017,
years, maybe a little longer. All right,
So
so
yeah,
6 years.
yeah, around
What has he
6.
been doing since then?
Nothing apparently. Probably, maybe something in like another industry. Maybe just taking a chill pill from the hectic work schedule of the anime industry. But he has not been doing much lately, as far as we know, anyway. And so to see him back is definitely a treat. And we even get there's the one shot in the OP of the bare bones sort of winter tree without the leaves and all the crows flying off of it. That feels straight out of Kizu right there.
Yeah, so when can we expect the how Monogatari influenced or I guess in this case how Zetsubo Sensei influenced Undead Unluck?
Well, it'd have to be Monogatari, because who's gonna click on a Zetsubo Sensei video? Literally who?
Yeah, true. Yeah, you could be the how Monogatari influenced blank guy.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like a yearly tradition of the Crunchy Bagels YouTube channel.
Like an ever evolving narrative.
Yeah, just somehow link every anime back to Monogatari.
I mean,
it's how I function on this podcast.
6 degrees, you could 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that shit, I'm sure.
I have no fucking clue what that is.
You never heard of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
No, I have not heard of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Okay, so it's like the rule that everyone in Hollywood is like 6 degrees away from having worked with Kevin Bacon at some point. Like this cinematographer worked on this movie, who worked with this actor, or cinematographer who worked on this movie, who worked on this that Kevin Bacon was in.
You probably can do that with Monogatari.
Yeah, it's basically like a branching tree path of of staffers.
But yeah, I'll probably make a video on it, honestly. Like, it's too up my alley, man. It's literally the kind of video that only I would make.
Yeah, we can continue to get you more shonen pilled, because this is from Shonen Jump.
Yeah, and it's one that I was super excited for when I saw that it was getting an anime adaptation. At the time, I didn't even know that it was going to be like so Shaft-esque, but I just saw the premise and was like, or I don't even think I saw much of the premise other than that it was dealing with an unlucky girl and an undead dude who wanted to die. I just saw the cover art and was like, God damn, this has soul.
In the first episode, there's not too much to the narrative outside of there's an organization and there's these people called negators who have these powers. I assume because I assume because they're labeled stuff like undead and unluck, they're gonna have like stuff related to their powers. So I guess that'll be a factor. I looked on the plot synopsis. They formed together something called the Union, the Union. So
oh yeah, that's totally gonna be a naming convention then.
Yeah. And for the sense of humor in the show, there's no way to say it without sounding like somewhat creepy, but like how much worse would this show be if Fuko treated Andy's let's call it sexual harassment for lack of a better term with a sense of realism, as opposed to goofy animeism where instead of like fighting back against, well, I guess the joke is that she can't fight back because he's a hulking muscle man and she is just a unlucky girl who the only way she can fight back is having unlucky things like a banana crate falling out of an airplane and smashing him to pieces. But how much worse would these scenes with them be if she just like very like she hated Andy?
Well, if she hated Anne and Andy, then the entire show would be miserable, because who wants... I know that sometimes the main characters bicker at the beginning, but goddamn, like, I'm just imagining that version of the show and it'd be miserable. Although I'll be the first one to admit that when Andy did the thing where he's like, oh, I'll hug you to see how that activates your powers, but then he also cops a feel for no reason. Like, yeah, I groaned at that scene, not gonna lie. I was like,
he needed the skin-to-skin contact, man.
He literally
fellas,
said,
is it worth it? If you had the opportunity, what is it worth it, bros?
Is it worth the prison time?
Not. Oh, I was gonna say, is it worth the certain death because touching Fuko will kill you?
Well, also that, yeah. Honestly,
You don't gotta worry about prison. That's the beauty of
true.
Fuko. You don't have to worry about prison time. You just die. You don't have to. You don't have to even suffer the justice system. You just die. Something will kill. The world will smite you. But is it worth it to cop a feel?
I'm gonna say no because she's traumatized enough, man. You better not lay on it anymore.
She is hot, but unfortunately, I don't want to die.
My morals are unshakable. Let's see. We could probably.
I'm just going over my rest of my notes.
Yeah. Here's just a random one. Why does Fuko get grabbed really, really hard by the cheeks so often in this one episode? Andy does it. The villain does it. It's like a recurring.
She's got one
thing.
of those faces, man. She's just got one of those faces.
It's just such a specific thing. I'm like, does the author have a thing for this? I've said the word thing way too many times.
It's badass that Andy keeps a shard of glass stuck in his brain to keep him from going insane from all his immortality. That's pretty raw.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works yet, but nonetheless, it is very cool. And then after he takes it out, he just goes sicko mode, bro. Something I liked about the confrontation with the villain, they do a bit of a bit of a bait and switch, right? So Andy activates her unluck, and they think that what happens is that when the villain comes out with the stitch on his face and chops off Andy's head and puts in that capsule, oh, that's the unluck. But actually, it was him getting struck by lightning, which then dislodges, the capsule from his hand, and, they fall into the abyss, and Andy is able to escape and, get back to being able to fight. I thought that was a pretty clever way of getting them out of that seemingly unwinnable situation, because it literally struck me as odd in the moment that this guy who had plans to go and find them would be affected by the unluck. I was like, what, does it like mind control people? That doesn't really make sense. Oh, I see where you're going with this show. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, the if I had to throw one criticism at this first episode, is that you can't really tell where the narrative is going outside of Andy will continue to harass Fuko until he amasses enough of an unlucky incident to kill himself with, but well, we'll see what the ultimate shonen goal of this show will be. I have high hopes for this one.
I absolutely have high hopes as well. And, their character dynamic is perfect. I love both the main characters so far. Yeah, it's fucking great. If there was ever a show to rival Frieren this season, this would be it.
But Crunchy, there's already a show that's rivaling Frieren. It's the second highest new show of the season. It's Apothecary Diaries, baby!
Is it actually the second highest? God damn.
It has an 8.57.
Oh, you're going off a score? I was thinking popularity for some reason, but yeah, score is probably a better metric, come to think of it.
Oh no, if we're going by popularity, Undead Unluck is the second most popular show.
Yeah, that made more sense.
But that one only has an 8 on Mal.
So Apothecary Diaries. It's okay. I like it. Not really head over heels for it yet. I just kind of.
I need to ask if I could ask like the general anime community, am I missing something? Like, is this like is this like actually a masterpiece and I like just blinked or something?
So what happened? Apothecary Diaries, as it turned out, I saw people on AniList talking about this. Maybe it's not actually true, but people on AniList were saying that it was another 4-episode premiere, is what they were saying.
It actually I think it was like a 3-episode premiere.
Oh, 3-episode.
I think Netflix and Crunchyroll dropped the first 3 episodes at once. So hey, our prediction from the very last part of this podcast is coming to pass as quicker than we expected.
Literally in real time.
Yeah, although I don't think this one would have particularly benefited. I only watched the first of the 3 episodes of the show.
Yeah, same here. I was not going through all 3. I mean, The only way I could imagine it benefiting it, putting aside my bias, because obviously I'm of the opinion that you should generally only do first or double length premieres, but you know, unless there's a major turning point within those first 3 or 4 episodes, however many premiered at once, it probably wouldn't have benefited very much from being a multi-episode premiere. Because this first episode, it seems to be just kinda the main
If
girl doing
going off of
apothecary
the
stuff in the
going
king's
off of the
palace.
going off of the opening, if I were to wager guess, maybe there's a time skip, because the opening shows a much older Mao Mao, the main girl,
Yeah.
and she, I can't. Well, I think she's older. I can't tell if she's supposed to be older or if she's the same age, but like dressed and dolled up.
See, there's also some shot in the OP. I'm a little fuzzy on it because I didn't watch it. That I didn't seek it on YouTube like you seems to, because you posted. The
I
link in
did
my
because
server.
the song goes insanely hard.
I thought it was fine. I'm not big on the song. I like the OP's visuals more than the song, honestly. But
I like them both. Well, I mean, you're gonna have your main character dance to the opening. That's all automatically a bonus.
But yeah, there's one shot where, she looking like a child is next to her more adult looking self, I think. And so, what could that mean? Who knows? But yeah. So I'm not sure if it's a time skip or maybe, yeah, like I'm trying to imagine what that would be implying.
Like it's either a time skip or like that's a new alter ego that she takes on, where she's more more she at the end of this episode she becomes the consort's main assistant, so I'd imagine she becomes a little more royal and presentable.
You know what, I think the alter ego theory is actually getting pretty close to what it probably is. That sounds like it makes more sense than the time skip, just basing it off of the OP.
Yeah, and she's 17 by the time where we end off in the first episode, so it's like by anime logic, she's practically an adult. I mean, we are working with ancient China here, so we have established that she comes from in no uncertain terms, the red light district.
Yeah, so the main character is an apothecary working in the red light district. She doesn't actually do any of that service, though the people around her are encouraging her to do so at the age of 17. So, we know she's in good hands.
Come on, Mao, just become an e-girl. Just open that OnlyFans.
Yeah, do the amaranth yeast beer for us, please, yeah.
Mao. We have truly gone too far. Mao yeast beer.
So Mao then, this line made me crack up so hard. I don't think it was meant to make me laugh as hard as it did, but I think it's either her dad or her grandpa. I think her grandpa. It says, "Hey, there's been a lot of kidnappers lately. Be careful." And I just laugh out loud because, yeah, of course she's gonna get kidnapped if you say that. If you say that, come on, you set it up way too clearly.
Yeah, she God. Gets kidnapped. And
that's a red flag if there ever was one. Or I guess a flag.
She got kidnapped and she got sold off as a servant to the ancient Chinese emperor's palace. It's a palace full of women and eunuchs, which are men that have been castrated. They cannot come no more. They will not reproduce, and it's specifically done to eliminate the urge of reproducing with the majority women of the palace. So we gotta, that's one way to curb the bad thoughts, the naughty thoughts. Just
curb the horny.
Snip.
I no longer want the amaranth beer. But
it's that simple.
Yeah, sign up today. But after that, she's basically getting by. She's trying to keep her head low, but as it turns out, the two of the women who are trying to birth the emperor's son, because he doesn't have an empress to rule with him. And so these women around this area, the back of the palace, are, you know, doing the naughty with him to see if they can birth an heir. But as it turns out, the one who had just birthed a son, her son is sickly, and eventually that son dies and she becomes sickly. And she thinks it's a plot from the other woman to try. Basically, she thinks the other woman poisoned her son because she had birthed a daughter which wouldn't be able to rule in the future. So she's like, you know, you're just jealous. Fuck you, bro. But Mao Mao, she knows what's up because she worked as an apothecary. As it turns out, it's the beauty products that a lot of the women at the red light district would put on in order to make their face paler. And she saw that the woman who had birthed the child wore that, and so she sent a letter of warning to the other woman. Hey, yo, that stuff ain't good, man. You don't want to cook with that stuff. And this eventually, you know, makes it so that she can't lie low anymore. We get the eunuch, who's probably almost certainly a love interest, who everyone thinks is super handsome. And I did really like this part. This is pretty clever. He puts up a sign that has written language on it because she wrote a note, and most of the women there are illiterate because it's ancient China. So he writes a note that says, "Hey, yo, you with the freckles, you're staying here, pal." And she's like, "Oh my fucking god, I'm outed. There's no going back in the closet now, folks. They got me."
No, the mom, dad, I can read. Mom, dad, I have media literacy.
And so after that, you know, instead of, you know, telling her off for lying, they're like, "Hey, yo, you saved a life. That's pretty based. So we're gonna let you hang around." And yeah, that's it for the first episode. I basically said everything important in the plot.
I'm sure I have this one line written down where Mao Mao is describing herself about not being able to move on up in the world of you know, the higher paid, higher caste maids because she's got the flat chest, freckles, no curves. She has no appeal. And then I wrote in the note, "This cripples the bagel."
Bro, what she was describing there was just peak woman. I don't know how to lay it on there any blunter than that.
The evidence continues to pile up.
What evidence? Evidence for what? This can't be femboy fucking
No, it's not femboy.
Either.
It's FBI material.
Oh, FBI material. Listen, I may be a Dragon Maid fan, but I'm not that kind of Dragon Maid fan. Listen, I may be a Monogatari fan, but I can I may be a Mushoku Tensei fan.
However, death. Immediately put behind bars.
You know, it's a rough life having all these shows as favorites, but yeah, go on.
I'm trying to discern why this show has such a high score. And I'm racking my brain because, like, the character art is nice and the designs are great.
That's my answer. Final answer. They find the guy very pretty, and then it eventually becomes a romance. But also, there's like, it's more to it than just a very generic one.
It's definitely a very female geared show.
It feels that way, and so that's why my final answer on the Jeopardy card. Fucking women.
Yeah, you put women and you wagered $5,300. Part of me wants to agree with you. At first, I had this theory that it's obviously not the case anymore, but I had a suspicion, and there's no way to say it without me getting in a lot of trouble, so I'm trying to tiptoe around this minefield very carefully. I had thought because the show so prominently features eunuchs, I thought that a certain community comprised of about at least four letters thought that translated to just straight up trans people instead of, you know, just guys who still identify as guys but just had their genitals removed. So I had thought that because they were such a prominent character and presence in the narrative, I thought it got popular with that community, hence why the score was so high. Obviously, that's not the case because they don't really parade around. They address it, but they don't like parade the
I had to look up what the
fact
word
that the
eunuch
show.
meant. So like I feel like that puts into perspective how little it actually affects the narrative thus
Yeah, and like
far.
they do say it does make you more feminine appearing because it cuts off your testosterone or like it heavily like caps the amount of testosterone that's flowing in your body. Your body hair stops growing as much. You uh look a little more feminine. It's at like straight up HRT or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Is it
HRT, you're
CRT or
right.
HRT? Okay. I
HRT.
thought it was CRT was flowing through my head for some reason. Yeah, but yeah, that's not the case. The outside of just being the love interest and being the right hand to the consort, there's not really a trans theme going on in the show. It's not. I don't. Something tells me Mao Mao is not going to undergo a gender identity crisis within the show herself. So it has to be something else. I'm still trying to rack my brain as why the show is so popular, right? Or at least not, maybe not necessarily popular, but critically acclaimed.
I mean, it is one of the most popular shows of the season, but from what
Let's
I've
see.
seen, what I can really glean rather, is that it's just solving cases of poison and other related stuff that an apothecary would know, while the romance between Mao Mao and the eunuch is developing. And that's like all I really get from the show.
But is that worth an 8.58?
To me, it isn't. Maybe there's something more that happens in a later episode, which is why it had a 3/4
Yeah,
episode
that
batch
must
drop.
be it.
Because this
I
first
will say
episode,
Mao Mao is somewhat of an interesting protagonist. She's in her own head a lot and is very she's kind of Kobayashi-esque in her analyzing the situation constantly and
yeah, although
trying to
she's very
act in.
cynical compared to her, I
Yeah.
noticed.
Yeah, Kobayashi, well, she has low expectations, but she has like she still remains optimistic in the like that everything will work out all right.
Fuck,
But she
Kobayashi's more
still takes
optimistic than I
everything into
am, so
account.
there you go.
Yeah, but Mao Mao is very like I don't really like if it doesn't directly concern me, I don't give a shit type of person.
Yeah,
She's looking
she's
out for
just
number
trying
one.
to keep her head low. And like when she's singled out as being able to read and write, she's like, "Ah, well, shit. They want me to go into the palace. Yeah, nothing good is going to happen from this. I'm screwed."
Yeah, I mean she has a couple like cute moments. I mean she's like described as cat-like sometimes. Then the show does have a couple bits of like where the animation comes to life and it's like a little creatively directed. And Mao Mao herself is really just cute as fuck. The freckles are doing everything for her, and the dance that she does in the opening lives rent free in my head.
Yeah, like it's certainly a good looking show, got great production values. Uh
Yeah, it's by
Pretty well
Ohm and
directed.
Toho Animation Studio.
Like the directing isn't incredible or anything from what I remember, but I remembered not hating it. And got that animation quality very consistent. But it just the way I would describe it is, you got Freerin and you immediately know, oh, it's like even if it were just a one episode premiere, like you'd still immediately know, okay, this is what the show is about. It's got this super unique melancholic tone. It's super well animated. There's like that X factor that puts it above your standard slop. You got Undead Unluck. Oh wow, the dynamic between the characters is so good. It's got so much personality and humor and charm. Puts it well above the slop. For here, like what is there that puts it so far ahead of everything else? Just kind of It's very standard feeling. Not in the bad way, but in the sense that, yeah, I could watch it, but I could also
Yeah,
not watch it. And that's whereas with Undead Unluck and Frieren, not watching it is off the table.
yeah, I feel this is really mean, but I feel like this is the best kind of girlfriend show where you're looking for something to watch with your girlfriend on the couch on Netflix, and this show comes up, and like she's really into it because it's more geared toward the female demographic, and because you both like anime, she's like, hey, why don't you, like, let's watch the show together, and like, okay, and like you like it just enough to not be, bored with it, but you like there's a list of shows you'd rather be watching, but you're enjoying it more because you're watching it with her. You know what I mean?
I mean, hey, I personally get distracted if I'm watching anime with other people, so it would be a good show for that because I wouldn't have to give it all of my attention. That's really mean,
I can't.
but
Is that a backhanded compliment?
that it's a very backhanded
Oh, this show's so
compliment.
great. I don't have to give it my full attention because I don't have to I
It's
just pay it half mind.
It's an extremely backhanded compliment, but hey, it does fit the occasion. I do have it on paused as opposed to drop, so I will give it some more episodes, but currently not feeling it too much.
Yeah, I'll keep watching it to see if anything better comes out of it, but it didn't even make my top 5 of this season.
It's near a tie with another show for me, so it could be in my top 5 if it wins the tie. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, and a show that is not in that running is our dating story, The Experienced You and The Inexperienced Me.
What? You don't like it? You don't like the goat? Our dating story, Inexperienced Me versus Inexperienced You, with the most charming protagonist ever written, the most charming man put to cinema. You don't like this man, this amazing,
Okay, I'm
not
gonna break
generic
this show
character.
down. I'm gonna break this show down instantly. This Kimi Zero is the ultimate nice guy fantasy. You get a super hot girlfriend who's incredibly DTF, but you don't want to put out immediately because you want the relationship to be more than just sex. So you agree to go out until you both feel like having sex, which, like, on the surface, like, in a actual genuine relationship, you should probably want that. But like the way it's displayed in this show is like it feels like it's trying to fulfill some kind of weird like nice Reddit nice guy fantasy.
See, I'm not gonna lie, I barely watched anything of this episode because I started skipping around. I just skipped to the part where they were supposed to almost have sex. I knew they wouldn't actually, but don't they start the episode off with that?
Yeah, that's what we call a hook, Crunchy.
It's literally like that Fruit of Evolution show where they start off with
called
the fan
In
service.
Media Res.
Yeah, it's this fancy technique you might not have heard of.
I believe it's Latin for we're too shit at storytelling to start our story in an interesting location, so we're gonna bring you to the clickbait, YouTube clickbait part.
So a very baffling experience that I had with this show that is frankly more memorable than the show itself, because the main thing I got from the show itself was, wow, this guy is really annoying. He just constantly goes on about how hot this girl is in his head at length. Oh wow, the girl instantly says yes to his he's wanting to date. Why? I don't actually. Before I get to my baffling experience with this show, I got so mad at the part where she asks him, right? All right, I know I'm not the best with the ladies, but here's a tip for y'all at home because you're probably even worse than me if you're in the anime community. All right, if a
you're
girl
probably
asks
even worse than me if you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. We all love our fans here. We're very kind to our audience, but
they're sewer
she
dwellers.
asks for a compliment, like, "Hey, what do you like about me?" All he says is that she's cute, and I'm like, "That's the most basic Okay, she doesn't know who you are."
Well, also because she literally doesn't know anything else about her,
and I'm like, at the very least,
It's a completely superficial love.
Try and come up with anything other than her appearance, anything at all. But he can't even do that. How did that win her over? How was she just like, oh wow, he called me cute. I'm so flattered. The most basic compliment ever. Cute is like the easiest compliment to just throw at a girl mindlessly. That and pretty. There is no thought being put into it.
Are we taking the red pill today, Crunchy?
Yes, we're taking the red pill on Castaway Anime. Dating advice from someone who does not get, from two people who do not get
Are we gonna
women.
take our audience to Hustlers University?
Yeah, join the link down below. We're gonna give you all the hot new tips on how to get hot with your ladies. It only costs $100 a month.
Say this, what if you tell any girl this one phrase, she'll instantly throw herself at you.
Wanna watch our dating story before, tonight, right? Babe?
Oh my god, imagine watching the show with your girlfriend.
That'd be... She'd break up with you, no matter who you are, no matter how hot you are. She'd just leave at the moment.
Buddy, what are you trying to say with this show, darling?
No, but the baffling experience I had with it was looking at the AniList forum thread for episode 1, because AniList has these forum threads, right? Where people talk about the first episodes of shows and so on down the list. And it was extremely positive. Like, astoundingly so. Like, to an extent that was baffling. Of course it is,
because they're anime fans.
Yeah, but even more than that, people were like, it's so much deeper than you would expect. Because, and this is kind of true, almost. The idea is that the girl feels like, giving up her body and doing the nasty is an expectation in relationships. Like, oh, if I don't do this,
was
you're just
so pissed when that scene came up because they dangled this actually interesting character moment in front of us where it's like, oh wait, this girl is actually like kind of tragic because she just thinks that's what relationships are. You put out and then hopefully hope that the guy doesn't toss you aside when he gets bored. And she's just been conditioned to think that's what relationships are, and that's why she goes out with this guy so easily. Because she just thinks, oh, he probably wants to fuck too, and then I'll just hope that he doesn't get bored of me. Even after she goes on about how every time she gets a boyfriend, she's super loyal. Turns out anyone who asks her out while she has a boyfriend. But when that came up, and at first I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is maybe there's a chance that this can turn into this can turn into a genuine relationship of and the guy's like, hey, that's you understand how that's really fucked up, right? And that no one should be in a relationship with you for your body. They ruin it with two things. One, they set up this the end goal. This is the finding the One Piece of this show, the final end level, is that they're gonna, once they do fall in love with each other, then they're gonna fuck. That's not what the end goal of the relationship should be. That should be a step. But their show is treating it like, oh, okay, once I feel like I want to have sex with you, that's how I'll know that this is a relationship worth staying in. And then the second way is that the main guy is they first set him up to be, your generic self-insert nice guy, everyman. But also he's just kind of a loser, and not just in your typical, nice guy loser way. When he is invited into the girl's room and she goes away to get drinks for him, his immediate first thought when left alone in her room is to try to go through her underwear drawer, and it's like, oh, you suck.
See, I didn't even make it that far. My problem was, it's so clear that the show isn't really aware of... I mean, it might be a little aware, but at the same time, it wants to have its cake and eat it too, is what I'm getting at, where it doesn't treat it as this tragic scene. It treats it as fan service. Oh, she's undressing. Wow, she DTF, bro. It's the in media res they started off with. You can't at this, you can't simultaneously, I mean, maybe you can if you play your cards really well, but this show doesn't, where it feels like it, on the one hand, wants you to indulge in its sexuality, but on the other hand, wants it to be super deep in, like, oh, this is actually really tragic, really sad.
To their credit, she does not get any farther than undoing a button on her top. Like, if she was, like, stripped down to her underwear, that would have been taking it too far, but the dude stops her before she reveals anything too bad.
But once you're past the in media res, it's kind of hard to get over that first impression of the scene, is what I'm getting at. But yeah, like, you got further in the episode than I did. I just saw how obnoxious the main character was, and when I can't get through this. I am not. He's so. I have in my notes. I hate the main character. He's such a reactaholic because he overreacts to everything, like every main character in a light novel. I'm going to shoot myself. I hate life. Frill yourself now. Busted out the forbidden 4x jutsu. I could have been reading Emo
This was the show that you were. That you were like so done with. I was surprised that was this one.
See, I should have had the... It wasn't that this show in particular was so bad. It was that I had just gotten done with a day of watching nothing but generic isekai and native isekai and generic fantasy adaptations of fucking light novels. And then was so done with it. It was like, finally, something that isn't an isekai. Please be decent. Oh, it's this shit.
Truly there's no escape from this hell.
Yeah, we're 10 circles deep, and baby, we're busting out a circle to get to the 11th.
The most tragic thing about this show is that there is a glimmer of a mature romance, like, buried beneath this trash. Unfortunately, it's not worth digging through the trash to find it. Like, the trash is at the forefront first and foremost.
Yeah, just... It also looks terrible. That's the bigger issue.
The dude, the main character is John every anime.
You would have to be in just the best script on Earth for me to even consider watching this anime, but it's not. So, you know.
Yeah, like I want Marin Kitagawa. We have Marin Kitagawa at home.
Yeah, it's a depressing state of affairs, the anime this season. This block made my opinion of the overall season do a bit of a nosedive, let's say.
I mean, I think
still got some good
overall.
It's still like a mid-tier season overall, but oh lord.
You see, I feel like one of the key parts of that we're gonna disagree on is coming up right next with the 100 girlfriends.
100 Kanajo.
So you gotta say it with your whole chest 5 times. Really, 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 really love you.
Yeah, you just gotta get all 17 reallys in there, or else you're not even really saying the title
You're
properly.
a fake fan.
Yeah, if you don't say it all 32 times, frankly, you aren't... Like, did you even watch the show? That's what I'm asking. If you don't say it all 45 times.
Well, I did watch the show, and I was a pretty big fan of it.
It's I don't.
Come on, Crush.
I have very conflicted feelings about it.
Go beat your virtue drum about how you are a good old monogamous and that polygamy
It's not
is
a
the spawn
virtue
of
drum,
Satan.
right? Okay, so I think I have way more complicated thoughts on this show than you're giving me credit for. But
all right, go ahead.
Like, it's not even that it is mid. It kind of is. But there's like so many flashes of goodness in there, particularly in the visuals. I'll just say that. Like, it's not stupendously well animated, but the art is like incredible, and the facial expressions, everything has a lot of soul.
Yeah, there's only a couple moments of like fun creative animation. They're a little few and far between, but the art is a constant high point. This has some of the best art of the season.
Yeah, like the characters are consistently extremely cute. They're almost
insanely screen capable.
always blushing with like these
With-
over the top.
It's serotonin for the soul, Crunchy.
I was screen capping them quite frequently. I did also manage to get the shot of the pink-haired girl with the mole on her thigh. That's some soul right there.
It's soul.
That's what soul.
It's like how
like
they
it or
gave,
not, that's what soul
Hifu-
looks like.
Yeah, it's like in a new game, Dogakobo gave Hifumi a mole right above her breast.
Literally the hottest thing about her. Insanely hot. They've cracked the code.
I wouldn't even call it hot. I just thought it was like a neat character thing because it's like a neat design point. You don't really see that on anime girls.
Yeah, I mean, it's good from both perspectives. Speaking personally, but so I like the art. It's very good. The character designs are also immaculate. Even the main character, shockingly, although by default the worst design of the series considering what type of show it is, he's not a John every anime. And
No,
considering the title of the show,
he looks like he
I'm
was
fine
pulled
with
from
that.
Demon Slayer.
Yeah, like if you're called the 100 girlfriends who, and then they say really 56 times, and you look not completely generic, you know what? You've surpassed. I couldn't hope for more.
I hope that this will be a dramatically, incredibly hard undertaking, but I sincerely hope that the dude, whoever is writing this manga, has the ability to draw 100 distinct like banger character designs.
I mean, I think they're well over 20 in so far, so they're already well on their way.
What's the tier list looking like?
That's gonna be a long fucking tier list. By the end of the once you get to the end of the manga, you'll probably forget half of them.
Nah, they're all gonna have equal screen time, Crunchy.
Sure, and by the end, by the end, the plot is gonna be moving at like a snail's pace, and every page is just gonna be this mob of people.
Well, maybe they'll have like 5 girls at a time, and we'll interchange them.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a series of harems.
So the plot of this show is that our main boy Rentaro, he is he is the Rizless one. He has not paid a single cent on his Farnham tax, and he has been rejected 100 times in a row. Ever since he was a baby, he has had negative game, which is hilarious, by the way, that he has been confessing to girls since he was a baby and being rejected as much such. So after being rejected 100 times in a row, he's going into high school being like, please God, let me find my soulmate. And the love god comes down from on high and he says, you know what, bro? I got you. You've suffered enough. My strongest soldier. I will grant you the soulmate that you have been seeking for. And then they YouTube ad skit some of his cut manga lines, which I thought was really funny.
That scene was a very I was kind of dead-faced while watching it, kinda, when he said, "Oh no, they're about to skip
YouTube
my lines."
ad skip it, man.
It didn't. The only thing I was thinking was, what if in Haruhi the characters started acknowledging the fact that they're in an anime? Oh, that'd get really annoying, wouldn't it? Oh wait, this show is doing it in front of my eyes. Oh no. Maybe I'm too pessimistic for this shit, but I was unimpressed.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Rentaro's found himself in a bit of a pickle, because normally a person is supposed to be designated with one soulmate if they even get one. But because God was too busy watching Castle in the Sky on TV, he accidentally made it so that Rentaro would have 100 soulmates instead of one, because when he was writing it on his papers in heaven, he gave him 100 because Castle in the Sky is a 100 out of 100 movie, so, you know, it's an honest mistake.
Well, yeah, after that, he starts... He sees 2 girls, and they see him at the same time, and they're like, yo, he's my soulmate, and he's like, yo, are they my soulmate? Yo, question mark? Uh, and he's gonna see 100 of them. Not in the season, but presumably throughout the story. Maybe actually 100. I mean, it's right there on the cover. It has to be 100, or else it's false advertising. I'm suing. But
Yeah, it
that's
looks like
the
we're gonna
gist
get
of
5 this season.
it. Yeah. And yeah, that's where I stop pretending to be positive on this show. It's not like it's far from the worst thing in this season, obviously, because it's mostly fucking terrible. But at the same time, they're just okay. So you always say it like, oh, I just hate polygamy, but I was doing some introspection because that was kind of how I initially phrased it. But I was doing some introspection and I was thinking, but hold on, I'm the kind of guy who watches a generic harem and says, just fuck them all. Like, just get the, granted that's to get the harem over with as quickly as possible. But at the same time,
So
you know,
you're
I'm trying
telling me
to
if you had
reconcile.
all of the legal Monogatari girls in front of you, and they said we give you consent, you would not go to Pound Town with all of them crunchy. Are you that much better
Well,
than everyone?
first of all, half of them are children.
Well, they're not true. Not only some. I said all the
Only
legal
some.
ones.
I am exaggerating, but to be fair,
I
Shinobu
specifically
is
said all the
mentally
legal ones.
800 years old. Okay,
I
it's
mean,
fine.
there's Senjigahara, there's Kanboru, there's
Yeah, I'm
Hanekawa.
exaggerating, but not all at once. No, I genuinely wouldn't. I'm gonna say that right now.
Okay, what if they
I
came
just choose
what if
Hanekawa.
there's like what if there's a door and they just came in like one's done and they like tag out?
Well, you'd get tired after a certain point, like 2 or 3 in.
But you're saying that's the logical through line, not so you're saying you even if you get tired you'd still do it, or you wouldn't do it.
Well, if you think there's so many fucking characters in that series. You think I have stamina for that? But like, I don't know. Depends. Would any of them be willing to date me in this scenario? Because the second I have that option,
we'll assume they all are.
They all are? Well, no, I just choose Hanekawa. I'd be like, oh, okay, I can just date Hanekawa now. Am I too baffling to you?
Well, you're not applying the logic of like if they were all given the option to you. You're saying a very true and a good Christian boy right now. Ironically,
despite being atheist, but I was thinking about it to myself, and I sort of came to a realization. It's not necessarily the fact that it has polygamy that is the issue for me. It's the fact that the entire plot of this show is going to revolve around getting new girls into an increasingly large harem, and I hear that it gets more absurd and more funny as it goes on, which is enough to make me watch to episode 2, because I am curious enough to get that far. Because it's better than Shy, surprisingly. Well, okay, not that surprising, honestly, because Shy wasn't all that great. But, you know, despite me going hard on this show, like, it is better than that. It still is very much of quality in certain regards. But it just... I don't like the idea that we're going to spend this entire show trying to get girls on board with this increasingly large harem, unless you take it in a complete... And I know that 100 is already an inherently ridiculous direction, but I don't think... Like, the show just isn't funny enough to make it work. And another thing
I
that
heavily disagree.
I heavily disagree with you. I don't think the show is all that funny. It's a nose exhale.
The show was very. It's a what?
It's a nose exhale show. You watch it and you go,
no, I laughed a few times.
I did not. I'm trying to remember if I laughed at all, and I'm not remembering a scene that did make me laugh. No hearty guffaws from the bagel while watching this. I was just kind of like, yeah. It's slightly better than average harem shenanigans.
Let me. I in my notes, I think I wrote down everything that made me laugh. Well, I wrote the show is a satire of harem romances where in this one
Is
everyone,
it?
including the guy, is so it's 100 girlfriends in high school,
But it
Crunchy.
also totally is a harem show. Like it
Yeah,
it's
it's taking
it's
okay, no,
not
the
taking the
point of
piss. It
the
is a
point of
harem
harem
show.
romances. The point of harem romances is like wish fulfillment, like, oh man, all of these girls, like the light novel harems, where like all the girls, despite the guy having no charm or appeal whatsoever, is somehow getting all these girls to fight over who gets the dick. Whereas this one is like, all right, we're gonna take that, but we're gonna take that to such a ridiculous extreme, where like the only way there's a love god who watched Laputa, so got distracted so much that he made the main character have 100 instead of one soulmates. And when the two girls first meet him, they don't even know his name yet, and they fall head over heels with him to the point where they spend hours looking for a 4-leaf clover in a field, just so they can no, not even before that. When they first meet him, they pretend that their ankles are twisted so they can lean on him to go to the infirmary.
But see, when I see that scene, right? There it's like a harem but slightly more self-aware is how I read it. Because those are just kind of more zany harem shenanigans. It still feels like a wish fulfillment show. The girls still are super fucking appealing and clearly kind of meant to be seen that way. Whereas how you were describing this show made me think of another show that ironically we actually talked about earlier, Sayonara Zetsubo
Girlfriend.
No.
Oh.
Although it does make me think of that. Although Girlfriend is just this show but infinitely fucking worse. But anyway, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is a parody of a lot of things throughout its runtime. Like it literally has little asides that parody, like certain, I forget what they are. They're like niche Japanese media that is parodying. But anyway, it's a highly parodical series, and part of what it's parodying is these visual novel adaptations where all the girls have this adorable little trait. But in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, it starts off sort of with like, oh, this girl's super positive all the time, to contrast against the main character who's suicidally depressed. But then it just becomes, oh, this girl's a stalker. This girl has OCD. This girl has multi-personality disorder, and it just keeps going down the list
say
of
that this show
disorders.
won't reach those same levels.
But Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is actually funny, and actually does a good job of taking the piss out of these harem shows, where it's like, oh, you want a girl with a unique new trait each time? Okay, this one's mentally ill. Like, that's funny.
Like, these two girls aren't mentally ill.
They're mentally ill, but they're not explicitly mentally ill. They're not meant to be mentally ill. They're controlled by the love god.
Slight spoilers, but we will see a girl this season that will fall into this sort of like that Zetsubo Sensei thing, where one of the girls is a super smart scientist girl who is 18 years old, but when she meets when she like goes on to meet Rentaro later on in the manga, she is a really good chemist, and she used a little concoction that turns her body into that of an 8-year-old.
That sounds like just Wally fan service. That's my first off-rip impression of that. That's not a mental illness. That's just, we wanted an excuse for an of-age girl to have the body of a child. At least the way you're describing it. Maybe they go a completely zany direction with it. But that sounds like wish fulfillment. Like, ironically enough.
No guy that would actually want like so many. Well, I sincerely hope now. Maybe I have too much faith in the kinds of people who watch this show, but I can't imagine no one would realistically want 100 girlfriends.
Well, yeah,
who are all,
obviously
like, so
not. Personally, I don't even want 5 girls fighting over me. I don't even want 3 of them fighting over me. I just want one girl to be in love with me. I don't need any more than that. After that, it just becomes a whole
Two,
mess of
two at
fucking
most, so I
stupid
can
drama.
establish my
I don't want
happiness and
2.
dominance over
I don't
the
even
other
want
one.
2.
No, I would say I wouldn't want 2 to have. I'd want 2 to fight over me, and then I'd choose.
I don't want
one
them to
so I
fight
can
over me.
admit-
Like, off rip, no, none of that. Like, I do not get the appeal
what would
of
you
harems
do
as
if
wish fulfillment.
if 2 girls in real life, I know it would be impossible. Where this is like
Yeah.
rocket science we're talking
Glad
here.
we're
But like,
glad we're
what if
getting
the
that out of
stars
the way.
aligned? There are 2 real people who say, "Damn, you watch anime and are an anti-tuber and you have a popular Onimai video. Oh my god, can I be your girlfriend?" What if you meet 2 people like that?
I actually
Yo,
have been asked
you
out
have
twice in
better
the same
chance-
day before in high school. So that literally did happen to me.
All right, we'll take those 2 girls that you absolutely made up just now and see. And what would they do if they started like competing for you?
Okay, what I did...
Would
well,
you- would you turn both of
they
them
didn't
down?
compete for me. They just asked me out on 2 separate occasions, and I said no to one, then said yes to the other. Then that relationship didn't work out, and then I got together with the other girl. The end.
And then that also one didn't work out.
Yeah, well, that you didn't have to include that,
one
part, Neon.
That one turned out worse.
But
yeah,
yeah,
so-
we've gotten super fucking sidetracked. Holy shit.
Like,
but yeah, like
I feel like
obviously,
the
literally-
comedy is
Okay,
so
you go
apparent
ahead.
because like the comedy is so apparent that like these girls are less characters and more gags because like they're
And I
we're
don't
not
like
I'm not
them.
expecting some the gags are great. Like
The
fucking-
gags are not great.
the pink haired girl like fucking devastated that she missed her chance for an indirect kiss and being like, no, I can't possibly finish that whole drink by myself. You need to drink half of it. No, the 15 milliliters, bro.
Yeah, see, that was another nose exhale moment. Yeah, I guess that was pretty funny.
The tsundere coming back to buy every can of soda and then screaming like a banshee when she
I
sees the other
hate
girl
the
try to get the
tsundere.
indirect kiss.
Like, it's not even...
This is the tsundere's bad. I hate the fact that the tsundere is constantly just straight up doing the it's not like I
Every
X or
time
anything, babaka.
Every time an anime character says, it's not like I like you or anything, I want to punch the screen that I am watching the show on. It is like, on sight, just murderous intent fills me for like half a second before I wake up from my trance. So watching her is like, I don't like her. I hate tsunderes. The tsunderes peaked with Taiga, and after that, like, what did we have? Kaguya from Love is War. There we go. That's like the only other, well, rather Kaguya and Shirogane. And then what? Name another good tsundere. Oh, what, you can't? Yeah, that's right. Wow, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they all suck. Sorry,
Senjigahara sucks. The worst tsundere.
Actually, did Toradora or Bakemonogatari come out first? I don't know why I'm saying that. Yeah, Senjigahara is another good tsundere, but like she's an actual character beyond that. You know, she's really I know you beg to differ because you have the worst taste known to man, but no, she's a legitimately well.
I don't like them as characters. I like them as gags.
But the gags aren't that funny. That's where I'm going to attack this from.
She stood
They're
up
bad
and
as
was
characters,
like,
and they
I
aren't
wasn't
that
trying to
funny.
find a clover for you. I was just looking for a place to piss.
Okay, actually, you did remind me. I did laugh at that one. There we go. One laugh in the
Because
episode.
she's like, oh, that's like, because that's so less embarrassing than trying to find a clover for the guy you like. And she says it so like confidently, even with her blushing face. Like, but that's good. That's good.
Yeah, but like, see, I don't like the idea of a show that I watch and the. Well, okay, I'm being a little hypocritical here because the characters in Zetsubo Sensei are also totally mostly gags above being characters, except for Nozomu Toshiki, arguably. But with the exception
Didn't
of
you
that,
go to
which
bat for
just was-
Urusei Yatsura?
the characters in Urusei Yatsura are way well. First of all, the gags are funnier. The characters are way more fun. They have a really good dynamic with each other that's just infinitely watchable. And more than that, right? Urusei Yatsura, like when I watch this show, you can say all you want about, oh, well, would you really want 100 girlfriends to fall in love with you? Okay, but they're all fucking supposed to be adorable, and there's clearly emphasis put on that. They both like you. This is clearly meant to be, in part, wish fulfillment. It's just self-aware wish fulfillment. When I watch Urusei Yatsura, I think, thank God I don't have Lum in my life. Because although she is designed to be perpetually wearing a tiger bikini and supposed to be super hot, that is only relevant to the show insofar as she is embodying this idea of a girl who's trying to steal Ataru away from Shinobu, right? And she's supposed to be very promiscuous and sexy and, mess with his libido. That's why she's like that. But although you can say, oh, well, she is attractive and, she does always have that skimpy outfit, it rarely feels like the show is going out of its way to portray her as especially sexy. It's more like she'll incidentally wear an outfit that you think is super cute. But for the most part, it never feels like it's ever trying to be wish fulfillment. It's actually kind of the opposite of, thank God I don't have Lum in my life. That's what I was feeling while watching Urusei Yatsura. So it's like, although the scenario is ridiculous, it's totally still wish fulfillment, and I totally don't like that about it. Like, I refuse to believe it's not in part wish fulfillment.
Alright, I'll concede that is a little bit wish fulfillment, but I feel like the satire is that everyone is so, like, bad at romance that it now loops back around to making the perfect harem.
That's not satire. All the characters in harem anime are bad at romance. Else they'd, like, confess to each other in chapter 20, and then we wouldn't have to sit through...
but this is like taking, like, to
fucking chapters of it.
The furthest extreme to the point where, like, they're all explicitly okay. Because, like, in other harem romances, they're not, like, cool with sharing the guy. They want them all to himself. But, like, this one is the point where it's like, they're all gonna be cool with sharing him. And it's gonna take that number up to 100.
And there's where we get to another thing. The girls... here's what I'm thinking while watching. Because neither girl really... Neither of them are poly. The guy isn't poly. He's just trying to make sure they don't die. And also, does like them both equally and can't choose. The girls want him to themselves, but they're willing to compromise. But it's like, I don't want to watch a show where we're this is what I'm really afraid of it being.
We are increasingly okay with cucking.
No, well, that could be an issue, but I doubt it'll go in that direction. What I'm really scared of is we go where this show's plot is going to be, how do we convince this girl to join the harem when she clearly doesn't want to be in a poly relationship, but she's just so in love with this one guy that she's willing to compromise. That sounds like the most mind-numbingly boring and tedious plot.
I was gonna say, that sounds like the greatest mind-broken hentai tag I could possibly think of.
Well, guess who wanted to put Mind Break in, like, the lowest tier of the hentai tag tier list? There you go.
Well, that's just because you don't understand, Crunchy.
Listen, I may like Onimai, however...
I don't understand like it in that the appeal of a woman at her lowest.
You're literally the one who makes the joke that I'm into fucking mentally ill girls because they're vulnerable. Yet here I am, not appreciating women at their lowest.
Yeah, so you should be appreciative of Mind Break the most.
Gotta fucking hate you. But I just... That scenario just does not interest me at all. Even the fact that the thrust of this show is going to be, hey, let's get this new girl to the harem. And what would make me into it, and maybe it becomes more like this as it goes on, due to its very nature of having to come up with 100 characters, but if I was legitimately excited to see each new character, this plot conceit would become amazing. I'd be like, wow, I can't wait to see the next girl. When is she appearing on screen? I need to see her now. They all have such good character designs and personalities.
The
But I
crunchy
hate the
coated girl. The
tsundere.
crunchy
The
coated
tsundere
girl.
sucks. The pink-haired girl is admittedly very attractive. I am quite partial to her physically, but she's the most likable girl so far of the two. Because she's not the tsundere. It's not because she's so likable. She's just kind of a sweetheart, and that's better than a fucking dumb tsundere. I'm so tired of tsunderes. And this show's idea of playing with tropes is just to embody them, but harder. And that does work in some shows, like Haruhi.
It's unabashed, like to taken to 11 on the scale, and that's what I like about it.
But the way the tsundere is 11 on the scale isn't funny. It's just her saying constantly, "It's not like I like you or anything."
Yeah,
it's not like that. Don't misunderstand.
The only
me,
way
boy.
that can continue to be funny is if they like ramp up what she says to such ridiculous degrees. Like, it's not like I started a third world war to have you to myself because I like you or anything.
We'll see. That would make the show actually. That would make the show actually funny, and I don't think this show has it in it.
Not like I awakened Chernobog Cthulhu to plunge the realms into infinite darkness so we'd be together forever.
That would put it on the realm of actual parody, which would be funny. But this show isn't funny, so like...
It's pretty funny.
I disagree.
And that's the podcast.
There we go. But yeah, I think I got most of my thoughts out there. Overall, I don't like any of the characters. Good art though. Don't like the premise.
I will be watching.
I'll be watching episode 2, but I don't expect to watch past that.
I will not be watching any more of the Kingdoms of Ruin, however, because I am not 12.
God, Kingdoms of Ruin. All right, so you're really excited to talk about the one scene, so I'm gonna get right out of the way what I thought was the most legitimately good part of this show. What little there is. And it's not even legitimately good, but it started to be legitimately good until I realized what show I was watching. So, basically, to do some scene setting, right? In this world, we're basically at modern technology level for humans, but there's also witches. And witches have the magic. And they've been, head and shoulders above the humans this whole time, but now they've finally caught up to the witches. And the humans, through a bit of racism and paranoia, are like, God damn. These witches, right? They've been stronger than us this entire time. And now we can actually, go up against them. Why do we need to let them be the protectors of humanity? We can protect ourselves. And aren't they
We are the masters of our own destiny.
Yeah, and so, they're very much, they get hit with the racistinator, the discriminator, and so they start genociding all the witches. And so the main character with his generic fucking design, that was the first red flag of many, is in the desert with this witch lady. And what I really liked, right, the one good part of this show, the witch has ice powers and they're in the middle of the desert. And so it creates this very interesting looking scenery of the two temperatures clashing. That was the one good visual idea this show had. And what that got me thinking was, what if we had a version of this show with, an actually good aesthetic? So something like, let's say, a Made in Abyss sort of aesthetic, or anything made by Kyoto Animations, right? Just pretend we have good instead of bad for the visuals. And then have them go on this adventure for the entire season, just trying to escape persecution. And see how we travel across this continent. Maybe they try to escape, we get into some political troubles, we start having some epic themes boiling over. Because I didn't hate the dynamic between the witch and the dude. It wasn't particularly engaging, but
I may be tempting fate by saying this, but if there were an episode that would probably have benefited from a double length first episode, it might have been this one.
Oh,
If
well, the
only for the
pacing is
purpose
awful
of
in this episode.
yeah, like
It is
if that were double
atrocious.
length and then dedicated like the first like 75% of it to establishing and fleshing out the relationship between the witch and the main dude, then it would be like more impactful when the thing happens, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, it would
so
still be ridiculous what happens to her, but at least you'd have a little more attachment to her.
yeah, and this is a running theme with basically all the fantasy shows this block, where they're paced like shit. They're horribly paced, but that's all
Because
isekai and generic
there's
fantasy.
too many of them coming out at once, and they need to hit you with the wow factor, the whoa, what makes us different from all the other girls thing at once.
Listen,
This one
if
thing is
I
that it
watch,
is
if
the
I'm watching,
edgiest show you ever did see.
yeah. Listen, if I'm watching a fantasy anime and you don't hit me with the thing with the reincarnation scene 5 minutes in, or if you don't hit me with people dying, blood splattering, action nonstop within the first 5 minutes, well, I'm just gonna go back to TikTok. Frieren, what's that? Never heard of it. Don't follow any examples of this Frieren that might lead you astray from the path of reincarnating into a pig. But yeah, you can go into depth on the scene you are amped to talk about clearly.
Okay, so we have to make it easier. I'm gonna just say their names. We got Chloe the witch and her human apprentice Adonis. Adonis hates humanity because they're going after the witches, and he was raised by one when humanity. He was like a poor homeless kid, and so when humanity failed him, a witch came to save him, and they lived together and traveled together, and then they are on the run from the government because they're trying to kill all the witches. And Adonis wants to be strong enough to protect Chloe. But Chloe's like, no, I'm gonna be the one protecting you, Adonis, because you're my boy. And so they fight off some guys, but unfortunately for them, we have established that teleportation via satellite, basically Star Trek beaming is a thing in this world now. So they get caught in the Star Trek beam, and they're brought in front of this huge crowd with the Emperor in public, and they've caught the witch, they caught Chloe, and they are using this magic dampening device. This is how they can get the edge on all those witches. Like, by the way, the show opens on a mass hanging of a bunch of witches who are cursing humanity, by the way, so if that's not a scene setter, then this is going to be a show stealer. With their magic dampening device, they are preventing Chloe and Adonis from using their magic. And so they're basically just normal fucks. So what the Emperor does to establish his dominance, and not just his, but humanity's dominance over witches, is that he goes up to Chloe, rips off her shirt, exposing her tits to the entire crowd, hits her, has the crowd like take pictures on their phones of her exposed, all laughing at her, all calling for her to die, and he's hitting her, and then he's about to have Adonis killed, but then she begs from her, literally like gets down on her hands and knees and cowers before the Emperor and begs for mercy, like, no, you got it all wrong. That human's just my slave. I kidnapped him and tricked him into being my follower. Please do not show mercy to my boy. You could have me instead. And so after that, after like, all the exposing and the hitting and the begging, the Emperor takes out a gun and he points it at he puts it right up to the temple of Chloe, and Chloe's crying. She's like, it's okay, Adonis, this way you will live on. Why she thinks that, I don't know, because if I were the Emperor, I would have just killed her first and then killed Adonis, because who the fuck cares? He was a follower of the witch anyway.
Well,
So
you see, what you gotta do is you gotta get rid of the witch follower and save the man, if you know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, but they chain him up in a coffin anyway. So for 10 years, so if you're gonna
Oh,
just
they do. I dropped
imprison
the
him for
episode
life.
before I got to that point.
So did you drop it right after the scene?
Yeah, I was kind of like, yeah, this doesn't seem like it's gonna.
Yeah,
be
no,
very
no, it's not
good.
like he reintegrates back to society. They keep him in like a special containment unit. And if they were gonna for 10 years,
Okay, so yeah,
why didn't
well,
you just
now
kill
I
him?
agree with you. Why didn't they kill him? Yeah.
With all that being said, he pulls out the gun. She starts remembering, the both of them remember all the good times. And then she says, Adonis, I love bang! And then she gets shot point blank, falls over. She is like dead already at this point because the bullet's gone through her fucking skull. But that's not enough. Then the Emperor turns around and has his hit squad machine gun her corpse into pieces, despite being already dead. Like, the fucking bullets like break off her fingers. They like turn her into mincemeat. I laughed so fucking hard when the machine guns turned on because like, what is this accomplishing? You killed her. She's dead. Like what are you gaining out of this like sick blood sport? And then
They just hate witches that much, Neon. How could you dare question Pete?
And to put the Minishino cherry on top of it all, after all that, she's already been turned into mincemeat, but then the Emperor has a guy take an axe and chop off the head from her corpse, and he rather, lifts up the head by the hair to the adoring crowd. They're eating this up. They're not horrified at this display of, sexual abuse and embarrassment and, dismembering, bloody, brutal dismembering, like the actual like scar for life dismembering. Nah, they're super into it. And they're cheering, and at this point, I'm like, yeah, Adonis, kill them all, please. Like, these people are, like, all deserve to die.
In the show's defense, is to play devil's advocate for a bit. Back in the day, we did have gladiatorial fights and, like, public beheadings and hangings. And so if they really hate the witches
this is supposed to be the fucking technological expansion, right? They're recording it. They're recording it on their smartphones.
Well, maybe it's just a really a messed up version of modern society where morals didn't progress for some reason because the racism virus got to them.
Behold, Perry the Platypus, the discriminator.
God, I fucking love that meme. But yeah, it's over the top. It's basically an excuse to give the dude some kind of revenge story. And after that, I stopped watching because I was like, this shit.
So I wanted to find out how edgy the rabbit hole goes, so I skimmed the second episode. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just skimmed to see, okay, is there something that even comes remotely close to the execution scene? And technically, like when we're talking about like how deranged one thing gets, not really, but if we're talking scale, yeah, the scale goes crazy because once he breaks out of prison, he just becomes a mass shooter.
wait, hold on. Say that again. I might have misheard you. Come on. You didn't say what I think you said, right?
Well, maybe mass shooter is a bit of an exaggeration. It's because he's a magic mass shooter. So what he does get a gun, and he has two distinct magic tricks. He has summon and he has embiggening. So what he does, as soon as he gets out of prison after killing the guards, naturally, he takes one of the guards' guns and he on the outskirts of the prison walls, he shoots the bullet outside, and then he uses his magic to turn the bullet into a giant fucking shell that embeds itself into a building and presumably kills a bunch of people. We never actually see the people in the building die. We just presume. But then he summons this big giant that he rides around in the palm of, and while the giant is just going around like rampaging through the city, we do see a bunch of civilians die. And it's not like in a, hey, look at all these assholes from the crowd that were cheering that of this cool witch girl's death. Let's revel in their, getting their just desserts. It's a bunch of like people seemingly not related to this, because this was 10 years later, so this is like nearly an entire generation going by of new people growing up in this world. There's like uh kids getting separated from their like parents who have been like crushed under rubble. There's mothers looking for their dead kids. It's like I feel bad for no like I don't know who I'm supposed to feel bad for now.
Well, maybe he really is. Well, listen, Neon, you're not giving this show the credit it deserves. It's way deeper than you think, right? Think about it like this: the guys executed the witch because they were racist against the witch. The guy is racist against humans, so he commits untold atrocities against humans. It's actually a story about the horrors of racism, told very intelligently. You're just not getting it. I understand if it went over your head.
Last of Us 2, Revenge bad.
No, this time it's a racism bad. But yeah, the show's also bad.
I mean, there's also the pink-haired girl from the end of the first episode who we do find out is also a witch, and is like, hey, even like what the humans did to us is fucked up, but I still believe in a world where humans and witches can get along. So Adonis, if you could like stop all this mass murder, please.
And then he presumably tells her, fuck off, I'm harnessing my inner Eren Yeager.
Yes, almost exclusively that, yes.
Don't even have to watch the show to know how it goes.
Yeah. They bring up the possibility that Chloe the witch can be resurrected, which is so now like, oh, okay, so now I know why you gave her the most violent over the top death possible. You wanted to establish that just that you could. And not that this is going to be like a permanent like thing that just can just happen in this world. You established that resurrection exists. So you just want to kill her off in the worst way because you know she's going to come back later.
It's just such a messy fucking amalgamation of ideas. Like, even the stuff like tearing
everything
off
that
her
you
shirt,
thought
it
was
just makes me
cool
think
that you
the
wrote.
author is just horny.
Everything
so
that you
horny,
thought was cool to write on fanfiction.net when you were 14, that's the kind of show this is.
When I was 14, I was writing generic Harry Potter-esque fantasy books, not this shit.
Well, the edgelords.
Yeah, it's
an edging show for edgers.
Edgelords. Hey, if you consider yourself an edger, you need to watch this show. It's the edgiest of all edging shows. Yeah, basically TLDR, this show fucking sucks.
Yeah, and that was what the worst part about it was it's one of the more interesting fantasy shows to come out this season.
It's actually here. Let me see
everything else
where it is on my list. It's like okay, it's pretty low on my list of bad shows, but there's a shocking amount of shows I put worse than it. Like a shocking amount.
And yeah, this is where we enter the territory of I started taking like 2 notes per show.
No, I'm gonna have a disclaimer here because my memory isn't the best on even when it's a good show, but at least when I'm watching a good show, I remember what happened and like what the title of the show is and what most of the character names are. Sometimes that's actually a coin flip, but like for these shows, it'll probably take me a good 30 seconds looking at the title to remember what the fuck even happens in the show, because after this they get generally, with a couple exceptions, progressively more generic.
Crunchy, how could you possibly forget anything about a show with such a distinct, unique, and not at all dime a dozen title like the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy? Which, if you had told me we covered, if you had told me we covered the show in the very last season, I would have believed you.
Even the phrase Excalibur Academy, like. I was falling asleep by the end of the title, let alone the first episode. So this is the one where I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's like Diet. It starts off as the dude's looking like Diet Overlord, Then he
Yeah.
reincarnates into
We get the
a
CG
generic,
spooky scary
yeah,
skeletons.
I did take note of those, and I also put
We
starting
made
on
it Halloween. We made the episode Halloween themed in the end, guys. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, and I have in my notes also starting on a tensionless action scene, a cardinal sin, because that's all of these fucking shows. Hey,
That and
let's
compounded with my cardinal sin of too many proper nouns with no context.
I remember that scene. Hold on, you just awakened. So the guys telling the Overlord knockoff, Walmart Overlord. God, what? I can't even remember what the fuck the line is. But it's
Chernobog of Castle Heading 1 just got destroyed by the Ottoman Empire. The fucking highlight kingdom of the quotation mark battalion also got torn down by the
genuinely
hero.
I genuinely went over that scene 3 times because and even after all 3, I didn't know what the fuck he meant. I was like, I kept on going over it because I was like, how do you make a sentence that incomprehensible? It's actually kind of impressive that you can say something in such plain words, yet at the same time have it mean nothing.
Yeah, once the proper nouns started getting spit out, I turned the episode on double speed, made it halfway through, I was like, yeah, nope, I'm out.
I actually watched the entire first episode on double speed, but I mean, that's further than I thought I would get. So you didn't get to see the silver-haired girl die now, did you?
Did I make it that far? I remember her bleeding, but I was like, she's absolutely fine. They're not gonna kill. She's on the poster. She's not fucking dying so quickly. This is not going to be actually die.
He basically, what he does is he brands her as like a servant or whatever. I'm not sure if it's explicitly that. He just puts like some kind of marking on her thigh with magic, and then she like
naturally she's a servant of Demon Lord, of course.
If she has a marking on her thigh, that's literally all I need to go off of to be like, oh yeah, she's like a servant of the Dark Lord now. She's edgy. Another edging show for edgelords. But yeah, she's fine. They go back on a motorbike or whatever. I actually forget what the fuck they go back to the academy with.
I remember after the time skip that they show the 2 girls showing up to the cave on a motorbike. That was like, hey, yo, what?
Yeah.
Are we
okay? Yeah, they go back on
all
that.
Of a sudden into this.
Listen, it's very deep. It's one of those technology is magic, magic is technology shows. You just don't get it, Neon. But yeah,
after Kingdom of Ruin introduced they just straight up stole the premise of Guilty Gear. By the way, I forgot to mention. Like they even call it the premise of Guilty Gear. Like it's literally the same, except instead of phasing out magic, they phased out technology for magic.
Oh yeah, by the way,
they still expanded just as much.
By the way, the CG crystal monsters, they look so bad, so comically over the top bad. And something I found very amusing is when the main character, he's looking at this. Alright, so first he sees a crystal ogre, and it's an ogre but black and corrupted. Like a Sonic fucking Sonic 06. Is it 06 or 04? Which fucking year
06.
Is it? 06? Okay. Yeah, Sonic 06 enemy. Just looking all levels of corrupted. And he's like, oh no, it's bad. But then he sees a crystal wyvern. And he says, it does have wings, but otherwise, it's not remotely the same as the ogre. It has the same skin texture, the same like black velvety skin, the same corruption, the same crystals, and they're both in CG. They look they have so many design similarities. I'm just because I know that's a line from the light novel that they just didn't bother to adapt. And they made like these half-hearted visuals for it. So in the light novel, it probably looked completely different, and like with a completely different design philosophy. And only the characters who have been through this for a while would be able to tell that they're like of the same ilk. But in the anime, you see them, and you're still like, oh, it's another one of those things. And then the main character's like, it looks completely different. And I'm like, it looks the same. They're exact, huh? I know it's a nitpick in the grand scheme of everything wrong with this show, but fuck it. Like, what else am I supposed to say? The main character... I forgot what the main character even looks like. Is he one of the ones with white hair or black hair? He's a child. Well, I know he's a child.
I think it's black hair. Like, black hair, purple eyes.
Yeah, so he's Walmart child
Same old song and dance.
Yeah, like, how many other characters look like that in anime? Fucking a billion of them. Like, I know this makes me sound very conceited, but give me an hour and I'd be able to write a better first episode than this. Not even lying.
I wouldn't completely agree.
Literally an hour.
But could you write a better story than Ragna Crimson with its double-length episode, baby?
God fucking damn it. So I didn't know going in that this was a double-length first episode. So when I was like 15 minutes into the episode, I had already put it on double speed. And I checked the time code, and I was like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no! And then I promptly exited off the tab because I thought I was nearly done with it, only to discover that I was not even halfway. Although surprisingly, this is one of the better generic fantasy shows. At least from what I saw.
Yeah, I guess it was very forgettable.
The only thing, well, yeah, of course it's forgettable. It's a generic fantasy show. Like,
the only bit I liked was the 12-year-old
that's literally
pink hair girl,
literally the
going up to the guy and being like, boo, just making a buzzer noise to saying like, nope, you're wrong about whatever the thing you just said was.
The pink-haired dragon slayer is a fun enough concept as a character, and she even has kind of an all-right design. The main character, I think he has white hair in this one. He was boring looking, but that's to be expected. There's one shot with her with like both her arms behind her that was pretty cool. But the main thing I like about her, the main thing that won me over for this character, for the 15 minutes that I was willing to sit through this show on double speed, was that she has a scar on her face. And if a character has a scar at all, especially if it's on their face, you instantly get the Crunchy Bagel seal of approval. Come on.
And she was also 12, so she must have gotten that scar like recently or even a while ago.
Yeah, just the idea of this battle-hardened 12-year-old who defeats dragons, who are you know, super powerful. That's kind of fun. And then the main guy, his hang-up is that he's not very useful to this girl, and he's having, you know, flash forwards, premonitions of the future where she dies. And that something related to that probably happens at the end of this double-length episode, which is probably why it's double-length to begin with. Did you make it that far?
I only skimmed to the end to see, okay, does the pink-haired girl die? She does not die. She, I think, comes close, but then he activates his Killua Godspeed moment and just becomes Killua Godspeed and just fights the dragons better. And it's not very interesting.
Okay. Well, there you go. Ragna Crimson, very boring, but that's to be expected.
What about Berserk of Gluttony?
Man, Miura really let himself go, huh?
Motherfucker's name's Fate Graphite.
I remember that. That's fucking hilarious. God. And I thought Nisio Isen's English names were bad. Little did I know.
I guess Destiny Led was too on the nose. We gotta have Fate Graphite.
So, I have 2 notes for this. This is another one. I think I made it all the way through the first episode, but on double speed.
I did too, actually. I didn't even double speed it. I actually watched the whole thing at normal speed.
But how?
I was tempted, but I was...
You are a stronger man than I, Neon. How the fuck?
I wanted to see. I wanted to really soak in how bad it was gonna be, just cause if the motherfucker's name's Fate Graphite, I was like, okay, I gotta stew in this one. But then I got to the end of it, and I was like, you know, it's basic as fuck. I called every single plot point ahead of way ahead of time. Uh, I there's I don't want to say it's okay.
You are
I
really
can't say it without
struggling.
sounding. It's because I don't want to make it sound like I like the show, because I don't. I dropped the episode. I dropped the show, but it got me. There was some, I'm trying to figure out what got me through the whole episode. Maybe I did like the bit of him communicating with the sword. They didn't even, without needing to personify it, they just gave it a voice. I guess I kind of like that.
I hate the fact that they didn't personify it, because I think it's boring to just have a sword talk to you. It's just a sword. I've seen Soul Eater, bro.
Would you rather they have it reincarnated as a sword in it with the bad CG and the goofy eyes?
Well, I don't want any show to be reincarnated as a sword, so no. If you're gonna phrase it like that, I guess I wouldn't want it. But I want it to turn into a person and for them to be really good characters. But obviously, it's Berserk of Gluttony. I mean, asking for even a semblance of quality is far too much of this show.
Yeah, and I know that we didn't make it to the inevitable point where he's going to become the Naofumi of this world, where he becomes the edgelord of I must consume. I need I cannot think. I must consume product and then get excited for next product that gets him branded as a criminal by society. Because he has the gluttony power, which makes him constantly hungry. But in exchange, he gets stat boosts when he kills things. He doesn't get experience, but he just takes their powers for his own. And it stockpiles them onto his... It's basically the same thing as leveling up, but called something different.
It's leveling up, but literally better, because... I mean, come on, everyone who watches this show, the second they see, I have gluttony, my power is so useless, that's code with
Look at this scrub lord, he's
fucking...
level 1, we're level 20, we could take him no problem. Wait, why is he so strong?
Yeah, as soon as you see his power, you're like, well, no, not even the power on display, just see that he calls it a useless power, you're like, dude, it's a cheat skill. We're in another generic native isekai. You're gonna have a cheat skill.
Yeah, I get maybe that's what got me through. Maybe the fact that they purposely didn't use the phrase cheat skill or overpowered.
Maybe that's our standards really state. That low.
Yeah, maybe we truly have accepted mediocrity.
We truly have accepted it. Goddamn. Oh god.
Then again, I also did the thing where it's like, I could write a much better version of the story in my head.
Well, I was like that with every fucking show this block, except for Undead Unluck and one other, which we'll surely get to. But
yeah, with this show, I was like, yo, there's some pieces here for a bare minimum competent story. Hey, here are the corrupt holy knights who are not only bullying the main guy for being a powerless loser, but they're also corrupt. This one guy is looking for a way to become immortal, so he can probably usurp the government and become the god of the new world or whatever. And we have the love interest holy knight Roxy, who's got the good head on her shoulders and sees the good in our good boy.
Well, see, when I saw all that corruption, I was just like, it's Shield Hero. They're trying to do a Shield Hero. But it's Walmart Shield Hero. And Shield Hero already isn't good.
Yeah. It's the offspring, it's the residue. When one iteration of the shitty isekai gets popular enough, then we get the spin-offs of the spin-offs. This is the to what all those VRMMO things were to Sword Art Online, and that's what this is to Berserk of Gluttony is to Shield Hero.
You know, audience, I want to let you in on a bit of trivia. In 1949, the countries of the world came together for the Geneva Convention. And on the Geneva Convention, line 704 of the Geneva Convention, it says, in no uncertain terms, it is hereby declared that the countries in this treaty shall not make any Japanese animated series revolving around overpowered generic protagonists being sent to other worlds and having cheat skills and all the like. And furthermore, you cannot work around this rule by having them be in the world from the very beginning, otherwise known as the crime of creating a native isekai. These two things are strictly illegal, as well as making any other stories remotely similar to what has been described herein. However, the Japanese, infamous for their war crimes, to this day keep on inundating us with these horrible forms of torture.
This is the Unit 731 of anime. This is the uneuthanized vivisection of the anime experience.
Oh god, this is... Let's just move on. I want to kill myself.
Hey, this next show, don't think I'm gonna watch any more of it, but it didn't, at the very least, it didn't make me want to kill myself.
This was such a breath of fresh air.
Princess.
It's still not good, but it's not generic. It has ideas. I'm crying right now.
Ideas we've seen before, but I don't think we've seen them in this particular combination.
Well, see, it's not even that it. Okay, some of them are ideas that we've seen before.
It opened on a mass burning of furries, so I was immediately on board. I was like, "You're already going on the good list." You made it on
meanwhile,
this
was Minnie's kryptonite, but
our viewers have no context.
Yeah, but sometimes you make jokes for just you and maybe one other person in a voice call, and everyone else can just be in the dark about it, and it's okay. But this, okay, so it's the Vexations of a shut-in vampire princess, and you'd think I thought going in, it'd be like Sleepy Princess in the Demon's Castle, where it's like this more slice-of-life-y fantasy show, more cute girls doing cute things sort of stuff, but it very quickly veers off into a very specific, very weird, and pretty
very gay,
fun, gay direction, where the idea is okay. First of all, like all these other shows, I think this is pretty poorly paced, honestly, or at the very least poorly conveyed. Where we start off with the in media res, which was kind of unnecessary, honestly. Sure, it was burning furries, which is funny, but it's not that effective of a hook. You could have just started with her as a hikikomori.
Speak for yourself. I had my full attention. I was like, finally, a show I can get behind politically.
Finally, I can relate to a show. But, we go into her bedroom, and just see her lazing around doing nothing. The room is a little dirty, which did excite me a little bit, because the one thing I was dreading is that there would be not a speck of trash on the ground. But there still wasn't enough trash on the ground, so 0 out of 10. Onimai did it better.
So, ladies listening to the podcast, if you're an eligible bachelorette and you're trying to get with Mr. Crunchy Bagels of Onimai More Than Fan Service fame, get step 1, get that room a mess, ladies.
No, but the thing is, in generic anime, right? That can't be bothered to put any superfluous details in the background, or oh no, it's the girl's supposed to be cute. She can't have trash in her room. We can't.
Girls,
do that.
If you're a messy slob, that is a plus in Crunchy's book.
I'm gonna
write this down.
Oh god. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, this rock
If you
hard
do
right
not
there.
have your life together, you are shooting up his list right now.
You know, I'm, I'm tired of refuting it, so I'm just gonna trudge through the allegations one by one. It's a heavy burden to bear being Crunchy Bagels in the Castaway Anime podcast. But yeah, there's at least some trash on the ground. It's not like Aramanga Sensei in Sagiri's room. This still isn't dirty enough though. But you know, eventually, she's getting a little frisky. She wants to coom a little bit. You know, she's waking up, birds are singing, flowers are blooming, my dick is throbbing. It's time for some coomin'. But fucking this deadpan maid who is obsessed with her just teleports into existence, and then we have a big ol' exposition dump, very fast paced, just trying as quickly as possible to get the viewer up to pace with what be going down, right? And basically she's a princess, right? She's supposed to be the ruler, but she's a hikikomori.
She's literally the girl from Ari Fuerza, by the way. Like, just straight up her design.
Fucking. Okay, now I remember which girl you're talking about. I need a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, if you look, it's straight up like the same.
But yeah, yeah, like off of memory, they do look very similar. But anyway, no, they exposit it to them. They're like, okay, bro, listen, you gotta take, lead some generals in a war, and you gotta pretend to be stronger than you actually am, because she can't drink blood, right? So she's not, or rather, she hates the taste of it, I'm pretty sure is what they established, and so she doesn't drink it. And so she's not powerful like a vampire ought to be. Oh, you're sending me the picture in general chat. Yeah, they do look very similar.
Almost one to one outside of their color schemes for their outfits.
But yeah, so she doesn't drink blood, so she's not very powerful. So they're like, look, you gotta pretend to be powerful in front of your troops. And that's the joke. She puffs out her chests and says, listen, broskies, I am super powerful and you don't want to mess with me. And it goes on to have a legitimately really funny joke where as soon as, because it's established that people in the military, when they doubt your authority, will just kill you and assume leadership. And so you gotta be powerful enough to deal with that. So she opens the door to meet her troops, and one of them immediately jumps towards him. She slams the door, trying to make sure he doesn't get in, but it coincidentally hits right at his neck and kills him on the spot.
Yeah, like, so to them, she's like immediately establishing her dominance by killing the first usurper. And she's like, well, I hope none of you retards try that again, because now you're gonna end up like that guy.
Yeah, and the maid is just egging them on, like, yeah, listen, she could kill all of you in a second. Like, literally all of you dead right there. So revere her now. Literally, like seriously, don't even get any funny thoughts. Oh, you see all those troops right there? Yeah, she could literally wipe all of them out single-handedly. Just give her like a couple seconds. Yeah, they'd be dead. But no, she's just sitting here, you know, in reserve, not doing anything. Just don't question it, man. Don't question it.
Yeah, it's just like I did get a little annoyed at the like oh yeah, I could totally just wipe these out with a finger, because I feel like if you're a soldier, like I get that these guys are probably gonna have blind loyalty, but I feel like at least a couple of them would be like, if it's that easy, and with the point of the
that's what I was
Lord
thinking,
is to conquer nations. Like, why don't you just do that then, and then just become the Crimson Lord?
Yeah, and you know, maybe they have to deal with that later on. For whatever reason, I didn't actually finish this episode. I don't know what was going through my mind finishing on 2x speed, mind you. But...
Did you make it to the part where the maid was sleeping with the vampire girl naked in her bed?
I didn't get to that part, but now I need to finish the episode. Thanks for letting me know about that.
Yeah, bookmark the episode. Yeah, the maid is like straight up in love with the vampire, by the way.
Yeah, which is probably the best thing about the well, that okay, the actual best thing about the show is the gag where she literally kills a dude. And by the way, actually, the one criticism I have for that gag, she should have been more traumatized. Like, she's already pretty traumatized by it. She should be like unrecoverable. Like, fucking, I think it's episode 5 of Mushoku Tensei, something like that, where Rudy sees a guy die for the first time and he just has like horror on his face and it's legitimately messing him up. Yeah, have that played as seriously, but the context makes it hilarious. I would be laughing my ass off.
Yeah, the concepts have been done before. It's been a recent trend of, strong figures of authority not wanting to do their jobs, uh, and then like bullshitting, like faking it until they make it. This one, what sets it apart is I think more of a reliance on its Yuri.
It's also it had one laugh out loud moment. So that was far more. I would rather watch this show than like 5 minutes of any of the other generic isekai. Like, genuinely. This seems like it's still not good. It'll probably be like a 5 at most. Like, that's if it's lucky. But like, that's if it goes really hard on the Yuri and you just appeal to that side of me and also have some more funny gags. But it's got soul. It's got personality. That's more than I can say about a lot of the other shows on this list.
Can you say it more than I'm giving the disgraced noble lady I rescued a crash course in naughtiness?
I barely fucking watched anything of this episode. I saw well, okay, this generic fantasy is from a female perspective, which means it's automatically better than than all like a lot
which
of the
is
other
why
ones.
the female takes a subservient role to the master male character.
I don't think it got that far. Like, I got to the point where she was at his house. And I was like, oh, this is just gonna be like some generic fantasy.
Oh, you didn't get to the part where he
like
just
generic romance
made her his maid.
Hold on, I'm getting vague flashbacks to it.
That was like pretty
I think,
soon.
Okay, yeah, she
like
did. She did
6 minutes
ask
in.
to be. He did ask her to be his maid. Yeah, you right.
And then he placed a death curse on himself to be like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to place a death curse on myself that will kill me in 3 minutes unless you become my maid.
Yeah, no coercion here. None at all. Yeah, she was like being hunted for some reason, I think. I barely remember.
Yeah, I think she was like
episode.
a disgraced late noble
that's
woman.
Literally,
that, like,
literally the title.
Well, yeah, you know what? I had to dive a little bit into context clues. I had to read between the lines a little bit. When you get to the level of media literacy that guys like you and I have, Crunchy, you piece together a whole show just by looking at the title.
Yeah,
especially when the titles are just, the plot synopses.
Yeah, I mean that's every fucking isekai nowadays. Oh, this one isn't an isekai, just a really bad fantasy show. Let me see. So, I'm gonna look at my notes for this episode.
I literally have one note, and it just says, "This ain't no Dragon Maid."
Not gonna lie, as soon as I saw the MC's character design, I just fucking gave up. I skipped through it and barely watched any of it. So, yeah, now I remember the guy's character design. It was bad.
It's his goal is to teach this noble lady, hey, I know the best way to get back at those noble fucks that never let you be the kind of person you want to be. We're gonna do all the naughty things, and then the first thing that he does, we're gonna have cake for dinner. And it's like, are you a demon lord? Or are you just like a guy who is like labeled a demon lord?
That sounds like it'd be funny, but like you'd have to take a Gabriel Dropout-esque perspective on it, where it's like the skit where Vignette tries to be more evil, that sort of stuff. But
yeah, but
this is no Gab drop.
His thing is that like his job is he goes to magic conventions where like all the top magic guys like to go to, and he gets handed their like theses and their papers, and he goes through and just like marks all the shit that's like, all right, you fucked up here, you fucked up here, there's a plot hole here, like, stuff like that. And that's just his job.
Yeah, no comment, honestly. It's not very good.
Yeah, it's not as interesting as
very uninteresting.
It's kind of a nothing burger.
I mean, it's not the worst show, but
no, it's just incredibly forgettable.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put myself through it.
Yeah, so next up we have My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S-Rank Adventurer.
So this is one that you said could maybe be good. You probably went back on that, I assume.
Yes. But because I thought that the way that it was going to turn out was that the dad was just gonna have was gonna be like a doting father being like, oh no, my daughter is now so much better than I am. Oh, I'm jealous of my daughter. Grr. No, the show is just hey, let's in the theme of edging, let's just deny the daughter who loves her dad so much and wants to show him how good she became as an adventurer and how proud that she made him. Let's deny her that satisfaction for like as long as I presume the show will go on.
So the premise of this show is that she got abandoned as a child, right? She's out in the woods, in that little baby carrier, and the dad sees her. He's missing a leg. He's past the height of his adventure and just living the slow life, like all the isekai want their protagonists to do nowadays.
Yeah, like the slow life in another world.
And he's like, yo, child, me raise. And so he raises as a child. And then, because we're apparently operating on Pokemon logic, at 12, she is apparently old enough to go out into the city on her own and start doing quests. And learning the ropes of adventuring on her own without living at her parents anymore. But eventually, she's, I think, 17 now, and she's an S-rank adventurer. She's the best of the best, the creme de la creme. And so she's like, yo, for the first time in 5 years, I want to go see my dad. And then she doesn't. Things keep on getting in the way.
And then her employment agency keeps finding like new reasons to keep her back. Like, oh no, you can't go. If you go, these giga ants will come and destroy the city. You can't go because she's so good at her job that she's constantly called upon for the hardest quest. Like she is God's strongest soldier.
Is this supposed to be like funny?
Yeah, like I was like wondering where the joke was. Like this, it's not funny that she's being denied the desire to see her dad and be like, "Hey, Dad, look how like great I became. Are you proud of me?" It's like it's just sad. Like I'm bummed out watching this show.
Like, see, there are things that could make it funny if you go all the fucking way with this premise, right? And as to that, like literally the entire universe seems hell-bent on them not getting to see each other in increasingly stupid ways, and then eventually, like I don't know, like 8 episodes in, they finally get to see each other, and then antics continue, presumably with them not being able to see each other for a while longer. It's like if you go all the fucking way with it, it could get funny with how comical it is and like how over the top it gets. But in its current state is just, oh, I have to take out monsters now. Okay. And the show doesn't look that good, and it's not very fun nor funny.
It was the very first note I took of this show was like, wow, these backgrounds look like shit.
The entire show feels very flat. Like the character, it's hard to describe, but like, whereas most shows, you feel like the characters occupy the space in the world. With here,
he doesn't even look like he belongs in the world that he's inhabiting.
That, but like instead of it being 2 different art styles, it's just it looks like an illustration in a book, but it's moving, so it should feel more lifelike. But it doesn't. Feels like very flat, very two-dimensional. Like the character, it feels like you're watching a 2D platforming game, from like the NES era. That level of flatness.
It's just not a good one. But you know what? If someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, Neon Manta, what's your favorite anime from the summer 2023 season about a grown adult finding a baby girl in the forest that grows up to be something even better than their parents?" I'd tell them I'd take the family circumstance of the Irregular Witch any day.
Guys, we did it. After so long, so many shows have gone by, not a single one good. Ever since Undead Unluck. We did it, boys. We found peak once more. This show's actually fucking good.
Yeah, this was the most pleasant surprise of the season.
I was shocked.
I had my hopes about this show, even like before going into the season, but I was not expecting it to be this good. I thought it was gonna be like a little fun, but like a little trashy. Because hey, look at this big busty 16-year-old dark-skinned witch girl and her 220-year-old, but like looks like she's 10 mom.
But it's actually like
And it does
really sweet.
Yeah, it's like surprisingly wholesome and also really fucking funny.
Yeah, so first of all, this is consistently super funny. Way funnier than 100 Kanojo, by the way. I'll just say that to make you mold.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Thank God he does have some amount of taste left in his tone.
It doesn't look as good as 100 Girlfriends, but it's taking the most of what it can accomplish and making the best out of it.
Yeah, it's like it's not a particularly the visuals are the weakest aspect, and I do sort of lament the fact that it doesn't have the animation to match its quality. And another thing,
like, if it had the animation of like if it had the production values of 100 Girlfriends, I feel like it would be wholesale better.
Well, see, another thing I will say, this might be a little controversial. I feel like this might have been better with 10-minute episodes, because it's clearly a 4-coma adaptation.
It's structured in the sense that you could
obviously.
absolutely split these up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's structured in the like almost kind of like it reminded me, funnily enough, of Dragon Maid, where multiple episodes were or not multiple, like a normal episode Dragon Maid is just taking like 2 to even 3 stories that are kind of loosely, if not completely unconnected with each other, and just making that the episode. Whereas there is a bit of a narrative through line through some of these, but you know, you could absolutely cut these off into 2 11-minute episodes and nothing of value would be lost.
It feels like there's too many jokes per minute, and not enough writing for it to be a full-length episode. Or rather, because I wasn't bored, but it feels like a shorter amount of time for these episodes would benefit it in the long run, because you're splitting it into smaller chunks, you know. I think it'd just be good, because it's very, a lot of jokes per stretch of time. Like, there's not a whole lot of breathing room between them. But
and they jam them in too.
Yeah.
Like, Viola being like, no, no, man, and you can't, Mama, I won't allow people to flirt with you. Like, I know what flirting, when people flirt with me, I've seen what it looks like when people flirt with you, and it's just like actual straight up pedophiles with candy.
That I literally have that screenshotted in my notes saying, did they put Lion Maker in an anime?
Yeah.
I got
dude,
there's the shot in the OP.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I just need to say that. Oh wait, I feel like I know what you're about to say. The shot in the OP where the
yes, literally that we
Alyssa,
shared a brain cell.
Alyssa swinging around Viola as a baby, but then it's Viola swinging around Alyssa.
Literally that. How did we have the same idea?
Soul. That's all. This I feel like this is the kind of show that we're gonna share the brain cell for. By the way, I will not go another second without mentioning it. I think my favorite character of the season, of the across all the shows, is the Phoenix. because he's just like a fucking he's just a Toby Fox Undertale character.
It's like this super oversimplified child drawing of a phoenix, and it's supposed to be like the super majestic legendary bird that Viola, is summoning. But he's so sweet. There's this gag at the end,
eyes, chicken look, like it literally does the Undertale dog,
the dog neck growing.
Yeah,
because he's competing against a plant, right? So Viola decides that, hey, I'm not ready for a familiar yet, so I'm gonna just try and raise a plant, right? And the Phoenix sees this as a challenge because he's just hanging around now.
Yeah, and this is after, by the way, when he thinks that, like, oh, I see, you only summoned me as like a plaything, right? And then he just like inserts himself into the family.
Yeah, it's great
Because
no, he's challenging the plant. Oh, the plant's gonna grow. I
and
can grow
voice,
too. Watch my
his
neck
fucking
go.
voice. It's like so deep and majestic, like something you would think a phoenix would command, but seeing it come out of like that thing, it's the funniest fucking thing.
No, Mom, never get a father for me. I can just make a father. Watch me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the summoning circle out now.
And he comes to life, and then he arm wrestles the phoenix. I was sad to see that the golem actually did go away and was like returned back to the earth. I wanted him to be like another pet to run around with the phoenix, and just have him be like the makeshift father figure.
Oh my lord, that'd be hilarious.
This is the kind of show where it's like it'll introduce the stupidest shit, and then you're gonna be like, "Yes, more, please." I like,
dude,
literally give me a whole tray of stupid shit.
It's canon because one of the witch friends, I have her name in my notes for once, Luna. Her familiar is just a bunch of men in the apps. She has a horde of simps who just want to be dommed by her.
Who want to be stepped
that are
on.
at her beck and call.
Yeah.
And by the way, I saw the episode previews. Like on my Minecraft world that I was viewing the episodes on, I saw the thumbnails for each of the episodes. Those BDSM dudes do in fact come back and end up being an important part of the plot.
I pray that they're established characters with names and goals. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I hope they become like. I need to know what like the common interaction that they have with Luna is. And by the way, the other witch, like Giriko, the one with the purple hair that covers her eyes, shark teeth, and the exposed chest, and the snake familiar, she leaves me weak, bro. She leaves me weak.
I did not necessarily
that's a banger design.
It is a really good design, I'll give you that. I fucking love... Okay, so what this entire show revolves around is the dynamic between Viola and I forgot the other character name.
Alyssa. How dare you? Alyssa.
There we go. Listen, I'm bad at names, okay? But I love their dynamic so much. Because you'd think it'd get repetitive, right? But like, here, let me read my first note for this show. I feel like the shot in the OP of the blonde mother girl holding the child while spinning, we mentioned that, is about the best thing that I'll get from this show, and the rest of it will be that same joke repeated in increasingly unfunny ways. But boy, was I wrong! Because it's not just, oh, well, she's bigger than me despite being the child. It's like they have this whole entire dynamic that is in line with that, but that is also just so sweet in its own right. Like, they so genuinely love each other.
Because Alyssa's a genuinely good mother to Viola. Because she's like, hey, listen, like taking care of a familiar is a really big deal. Like, are you sure you're ready for it? And it's like, because like, you know what she's talking about, because even though she never had a familiar, she knows what it's like to raise something by herself from adopting the girl. And so then Viola, who we see is a bit immature at the start because she's like throwing a tantrum in the middle of the street about wanting to have
she's like immature crystal. Even for her age.
Yeah, so you think, oh, she's just gonna be like an annoying brat who like takes advantage of her doting mother. No, she takes that to heart and is like, you know what? I thought about what you said, mom, and you're right. I don't think I'm ready yet, so I'm gonna start with this seedling and I'm gonna grow it into a big plant to prove that I can take care of stuff, and then I'll be able to get a familiar. And it's like, why is this like the show about the busty dark-skinned witch girl and her 220-year-old 10-year-old looking mom actually wholesome?
It's almost like Dragon Maid in the sense that it has such a convincing family dynamic and is also willing to have those small, emotionally resonant moments that make you think, "Oh my god, this show is so sweet. I love it so much." I just like there ain't no way I'm dropping this. Goddamn, this is something I'm
No,
absolutely
like,
watching more of.
yeah, so sadly this would not make for a good podcast show in both that it's not something we can if we covered it on the podcast we'd have to like cover the entire show in one episode, and also it's not sadly not popular enough to justify dedicating enough time to do that with. But it's so fucking, the ED is smile
I
inducing.
posted
It
that in
is
my server. Oh god, the ED is so perfect. It's catchy.
by
And then
Angela.
you see them,
All the characters dancing.
yeah,
Like
with this
it's
adorable
very, the
art
animation,
style.
it's not great, but and the drawings are very rough and kind of simple, but it's the charm, man. It's the difference of soul versus soulless. It's taking what you have and making the most of it, because like while the drawings are simple, they convey a lot of emotion.
Like there is so much personality in these drawings. God, I could watch this ED all day. There's
It's
so
like the
much
Henry
charm.
Stickmin effect, where like the character designs are simple, but like the things that you have them do, like it conveys so much charm and personality and soul and positive positive verbs, and adjectives
Yeah,
rather.
I'm just going through my like all the screenshots I took of this show. Like she's thinking about what familiar to give, like that Viola should have, and she's going all
She
crazy
just
for
wants ones
them.
that shoot laser beams. That's the one
Yeah,
thing I wanted you to compromise on.
yeah, and like she recommends cats. Viola ain't down for that because she doesn't want anyone
She
else
doesn't
to be
want her
her
love
mom.
taken away, like split up.
Oh god, and then Alyssa
There's
fucking
a
trying to
big
convince
muscle
Viola to
lady.
get the cat by like like just behind
Yeah,
her
like her head
like
starts
the
turning
child.
back and forth.
Yeah, it's great.
I really like this show.
This was surprise of the season. This is so underrated.
Yeah, I think it has less than a 7 on Mal, which is criminal. Let me check what score it has. It is criminally underrated. It has a 6.46. That is not
Now
okay.
let's see what Ragna Crimson has. Let's go. Some crippling depression.
Ragna Crimson has
72%
a
on
7
any list. I
a
wanna kill
7.56
myself.
on Mal. And
Why
like
does the anime
more than double the
community
user
disappoint
count.
me so?
What studio did this? This is Studio A Real.
I've
Let's see,
never
what are
heard
they
of
known
them.
for? Uh this is their highest rated show. I'm going through their list. They did season 2 of I Want You to Make a Disgusted Face While Showing Me Your Panties. So they came from humble beginnings. Um this is from 2015. What the hell? It's something called Urawa no Usagi-chan, and it has a 5.37 on now. Couldn't tell you what that's about. Something called Musashino from summer of last year, a sequel series to Urawa no Usagi-chan. So it was popular enough to get a season 2, I guess, with a 4.66. Don't know how they accomplished that, but then the other show is Kenka Bancho Otome Girl, A Girl Beats Boys from 2017.
So basically a bunch of shows that nobody's
6.43.
ever heard of.
Yeah, this is because this new one just came out, it is their, let's see, third most popular show, just behind the second season of disgusted panties and that otome girl beat boys thing. But I can say without even looking at all these other shows, this is a good one. This is their best thing that they made,
Probably the best
and
thing
it
they've
deserves way more eyes on it and way more flowers.
ever made. Like, this is absolutely in the top 5 for the seasonal ranking without hesitation.
Yeah, let me because this one's good enough to deserve it. I'm gonna quick check who the director of the show is. Masahiro Takada. What's he done? He directed, what the fuck was this piece of shit? He directed Ice Blade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World. He directed Girls High Rise Invasion. I'm looking for anything noteworthy. Those are his most noteworthy directorial things, so humble beginnings.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't super well directed per se. It's more so the strength of the writing, the wholesomeness of the character interactions. The character designs are also great. It's just a fun time, It's more so a show that is good in spite of, the lackluster production, but it makes up for that by just being sweet. And yeah, I'll definitely be watching more of it. Either that or checking out the original manga.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching more of the show. I might also be watching more of I'm in Love with the Villainess.
I won't. Because I know it's Yuri. But...
you didn't like it?
I did. Okay, I didn't hate it. It was much more tolerable than I expected it would be, and I even got through the first episode. So that is a rarity in this block.
Well, was it on
of
double
episodes.
speed?
I think I eventually put it on double speed, but I did start off with it on single speed. I'm pretty sure. So
but, Crunchy, how could you possibly hate this one? This one has a very open lesbian in it.
That's literally the only good thing about it, though. So the entire good... Well, let me describe to you the good parts of this show. The main character is crazy and lesbians with this villainous girl. And so she is, to the point where the villainess...
She is getting off to being bullied by her.
Yeah, she's a masochist to how this girl bullies her. Which, by the way, I saw you were watching the dub for this. I was a sub viewer myself.
I watched the sub of the episode, but I got recommended before I watched the actual episode clips of the dub because I saw people cutting up Ray's most gay moments from the dub, and I was I get not enamored, but I did kind of enjoy the dub Ray's performance. I like the delivery of "if you're gonna step on me, then step on me harder." She is very cutesy in love with Claire.
Yeah, but it's funny, and I like I said, I love how in Lesbians the main character is with the villainess. My big question:
Are you what they call gay?
My big question was, why this villainess though? Okay, from the context of her being a video game character. Why are you so in love with this villainess? She's kind of generic, no? She's kind of what you'd expect the character to be. And the other character, her main personality trait is just, I am in love with the villainess. The end. I was not, I like the fact that they're lesbians. And I think there is kind of a fun dynamic to be had. But it's only fun for an episode. After that, you just kind of there's not much to it.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on. The show is definitely as strong as your. I mean, for guys like you and me, Crunchy, we gotta take every Yuri show we can get because we don't get too many of them.
I'm not that desperate for Yuri. Listen, I still have the first volume of Adachi and Shimamura on my bookshelf. I could just read that at any moment. Somehow I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm not into.
I mean, I could recommend you Failed Princesses at any moment. I'm still quietly is hoping, huffing the copium, waiting for the anime adaptation that'll never come by KyoAni. But you know, one can dream.
Listen, there are so many Yuri shows that I could watch other than this, so why watch the one that has pretty much nothing to it beyond it's kind of funny that the main girl takes the bullying from the villainess in stride.
I just kind of enjoyed it. On the subject of her being, very basic as far as villainous characters go, I think that's just a byproduct of, the Otome Isekai is now one of the popular spin-offs of Isekai. So why don't we just have one where, instead of becoming the villainess, you just want to fall in love with the villainess?
We'll see.
Because I think we've also had Otome Isekai anime where the main character chooses to fall in love with the villain character instead of the main characters. But I don't think that we've had it in a homosexual aspect yet.
We'll see. I almost feel like I'd like this show more if it was just a high school rom-com, because I just the whole conceit of it being, oh, I'm in love with the villainess, doesn't really do much for me. I kind of wish it didn't.
So you're
have
saying
that
you'd rather
conceit.
just be a high school bully in like the real world, and this one girl who's just actually getting off to the bullying?
To be fair, you could do some really funny stuff with that. Like, not gonna lie, but I it's just
I like the art. I think the designs of Claire and especially Ray are pretty nice.
eh, they're okay. I don't really. This show isn't visually that good to me.
Short hair crunchy, short hair hating crunchy come out in full force.
But like, she pretty much instantly reincarnates into the world. I don't like that because these isekai always need to get to the point as fucking fast as possible. And although the series in
This time I appreciated it,
probably,
if only because she immediately confesses her love to her.
we'll see. That's what I was getting to. The fact that this show wouldn't necessarily benefit from more time spent in the real world before getting isekai'd, but that just raises the question in my mind: why is it an isekai? Why are you going into this Otome game? What's the fucking point of that conceit if you're literally not going to do anything with it? That is.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there that it would be funnier if I was under the. I thought you meant that like, what if this was like a realistic high school and not just this fantasy magic world high school? But I guess if you cut out the isekai part and just have it be this commoner girl is like so enamored by this classy noble Ojo sama that she'd be like, oh my god, I'm in love with you. Please step on me harder.
See, I think
that would be funnier.
that would be better. It would also be better in a real high school. But granted, that's if you take away the abstraction of it being a fantasy world and you have it take place in a real high school, it hits home a little harder. The fact that she's literally kind of deranged to any bystander looking at it. But then you could do some really funny stuff with that, I feel. So it's like
I'm just looking forward to seeing how Ray's going to. Ray, well, how would you translate the bit where Ray goes over to Claire's room and hugs her to against her will to replenish her energy, so to speak? How do you translate that to a realistic high school?
True. I'm not sure how that would work, but you could fit in a similar scene to that.
Yeah, you just have the bullied kid be a stalker, but instead of like stalking in to be a danger to the bully, she just stalks to spend more time being bullied.
There we go. But yeah, I had no strong feelings about this episode. Just kind of not that interesting to me.
Yeah, it's not in the top 5 for sure, but I'd swing it more to the positive end of the spectrum.
It's okay. Of all the shows I have on my bad list, it is 4th place. So there you go. Yuri really is enough to get a show that high on my bad list.
Wait, it's 4th place on your bad list?
So I split up my I list out all the shows as I watch them. And I have it in 3 categories: good, decent, and bad. And so, of all the shows that I considered bad, this was top 4.
What the? You put this one in top 4 of bad?
Yeah, it's bad.
The Villainous?
Yes, it's bad. How is
No,
it?
it's not. It should at least be in like decent.
It is
Come
not
on.
decent. It is literally. Fucking, I have Hoshiku's a telepath and decent. You're not telling me that this is this is even in the same tier.
It's not on that level, but like, come on, you
It
think
is
it
not
belongs in the same
decent.
tier as fucking Ragna Crimson, Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy,
Listen, bad to me
Butareba, the
is-
story of a man who turned into a pig.
Well, a nice transition there. We'll see. What you're forgetting is that like 90% of the shows of the season end up in bad. So yeah, there is quite the spectrum of quality.
Like all 3 of those shows that I named, though, should be higher up than on the best. Should be in the top 3 if that's in the top 4, and that one shouldn't even be in the top 4 of the bad.
It belongs in bad. I'm not changing my mind on this. I'm in love with the Villainous is fucking boring, but at least it's not as irritating as Butareba.
Yeah, we can agree on that, because boy, you know how I feel about pointless internal monologue.
God, it wants to be vending machines so bad.
Hey, it gave us the
were
mind
vending
control. It
machine.
gave us the telepathy.
So, God, I dropped this episode halfway because what I hated
Same.
about this show right off the bat, I would never want to meet this author in real life because this man trapped in a pig's
He's
body.
a weirdo.
He's a fucking degenerate. He's fucking I hate his monologue so much. He is stacked with fetishes. He like spec'd his character into being as horny as possible. Like sex is the only thing on his mind. He is a monster. He should not be allowed within 100 feet of a woman.
Yeah, of a woman.
Just any woman.
And this woman in the show should not be allowed within 1,000 feet of a pig, because she's going full ACAB, man. She's all about fuck the pigs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, she's surprisingly okay with God, this pig going on about, you know, she's so fucking hot. God damn. I want to jump on her.
I want to take a look at her white frilly panties. This is our main character.
God, I hate him. I hate him so much, and I hate that the girl is okay with it, and I hate that the author chose to depict a world where this pig starts having fucking horribly, fucking horny thoughts about this girl, and she's just like willing to strip for him. See, the idea, what I was thinking, alright, so we talk a lot about coming up with better versions of the show we're currently watching. The better version of this show I came up with was another
to not have made it.
The better version of this show is a high school rom-com without the isekai, without the pig, because no, die. But we keep the girl who can read minds, and we have a rom-com centered around that, where it's like, oh, but she, like, the second I'm in love with her, she knows, and she also knows all the thoughts that I have, and maybe we could have, you know, the guy feeling guilty about that. The girl's like, don't worry, I'm used to it, man. Like, trust me, people think way more fucked up stuff than you do. You know, it'd be kind of wholesome and sweet and deal with those feelings of adolescence, and this is not it. This makes me want to commit suicide.
Yeah,
I did not make it
this
even through the first episode.
Neither did I. I was so put off by the pig main MC that I was just like I can't even be like this, like jokingly horny over a girl. Like even like I get is the joke that he's like extra horny because he's a pig. He's like literally a pig. Is that the joke?
See, you look at the show's premise, and, you know, if you're anything like us, you go, oh, is this the next coming of Vending Machine Isekai? Do we talk about this weekly? I couldn't even watch this.
Turned himself into a pig. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
I couldn't even watch this if, like, for a weekly podcast. I would actually.
No, I
that
would
would
rather
be
neck
my
myself.
13th reason.
Yeah. Oh god, what was that awesome joke that I made? I totally forgot.
12
that my
Isekai
13th
of Christmas and my 13th reason why.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that video, like, for real, by the way. Maybe
You're welcome.
Year. Maybe this year. Maybe if I want to actually kill myself, I can do it this year.
I'll help you with it.
Oh yeah, I can
we
literally
can
collab
alternate.
with people. Yeah, we can alternate. There we go. 12 Isekai of Christmas, 13th reason why. We can get some more people in on the collaboration.
Get Vlusky, get everyone we've had on the podcast on to make the 12 Isekai of Christmas.
Yeah, upload
and then we just and then we all drink the Kool-Aid on the 13th day.
There we go. That's actually a pretty good idea. Yeah, we could get Armagon back into Isekai.
Yeah, I know. He'd kill himself before we finish the pitch. Speaking of Isekai, I shall survive using potions.
So this is one of those Isekai where she's an. By the way, I did not finish the first episode of this.
Neither did I.
So
I was like, oh wait, office lady with slanty pointy eyes. Okay, you have my attention.
But the show looks like piss. So it's like,
yeah. And then they said, cute, now give me the body of my 15-year-old self, and I was like, nope, I'm out. You had a hot office lady and you made her a 15-year-old.
Well, see,
you left this author and I are not on compatible wavelengths.
Well, you see, you should have kept on watching because she looks fucking identical.
I know she looks identical. I got to that point and I was like, all right, I've established what you look like. I'm gone.
You know, like literally, she asked to look younger. She just looks the same.
But, they just shrunk her body down. They scaled her down in Photoshop.
Literally identical. I mean, she already looked chibi before. Now she just looks even more chibi. But, yeah, I don't know what this show is really going for other than being an isekai.
She's gonna survive using potions. She will survive.
So, you'd think, like, in most isekai, right, they're an overworked office employee. But she, she's kinda overworked. You know, there was a bit about, oh, she couldn't be with her friends because she had to stay for work. But it wasn't like...
Yeah, I mean, I was getting, like, you can clearly tell the Zom 100 vibes. I feel like this show did that theme better than Zom 100, to be honest.
Yeah, but it wasn't... yeah. It just wasn't... It didn't have any impact. It was like, oh, wow, you had to miss being with your friends one time for work. I feel so bad for you. Wow.
I kinda liked the bit where she, like, alright, before you reincarnate me, can I, like, at least have a dream illusion of saying goodbye to my friends and family? Like, that was kinda nice, but after that, it's just generic isekai go-go.
Yeah, I dropped this very quick, and I'm already out of things to say. Which leads us into Tearmoon Empire. So this is the
I did watch the whole
isekai.
Episode of this one.
I did not finish.
Yeah,
the first
my first note is straight up "Vive la Revolution."
So yeah, Cyanix
and they do have their own version of "Let Them Eat Cake." So
yeah,
the influences are obvious
this time. And so it's about this girl who is basically she's one of the ruling class, and she's a dick to everyone. And so they're like, damn, we gotta take her down a peg. And by that, we mean throw her in prison, treat her like shit, and then eventually
we gotta take her down a peg. And by that, I mean take her head down her body.
Yeah. But, oh, surprise, surprise, she wakes up younger again. And this is where this show actually has a really fucking good idea. The idea of going back in time to prevent your own death by changing your actions. That's some drama. You know, but where it lost me, I think, is the conceit. And granted, it could totally not go in this direction, but I have a feeling. I have a feeling it's gonna go in the stupid direction where, oh, you were haughty and you didn't treat anyone right, and you were a brat and a piece of shit, and then I guess you pissed off the wrong people. Therefore, the ordinary people of the world want your head now. Now, if I were writing this, I'd go, okay, so somehow she lost the faith of the military because you only have revolutions like that if the military is no longer protecting the leaders. So, okay, she must have a rival who offered them a better deal than she could, who offered more of the gold, or, just something like that, something that actually has to do with political tensions, and then it'd be about navigating that system, knowing what you know now and knowing how it turned out, and maybe also have a bit of character development on top of that. I just get the Spidey sense that the only thing is gonna take for her to avoid that fate is to not be a cunt. Just a little Spidey sense in my brain. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling I'm
Well, I feel like you're gonna be absolutely right about that because this is just another iteration of the you being reincarnated as the villainess story, or like but like, oh, but I just gotta be not a dick this time, like Hamefura, uh probably a bunch of examples I can't think of off the top of my head as aside from that because they're all
infinite
like
generic
so similar.
examples.
Yeah, I know that we've talked about one on the seasonal podcast before.
We've probably talked about like
Like,
3 or 4 on this podcast at this point because they're so interchangeable and forgettable. God, it's like
I'm scrolling through last season. I'm very certain there was one like last season.
yeah, I vaguely
No, it
remember
wasn't
that.
Sweet Reincarnation.
Also, this show is also
Uh,
paced like a dick. Like we spend no
yeah.
time at all with dealing with the ramifications of her actions and being in prison. Like has no impact. Then she dies. We just need to get to the reincarnation as fast as possible. Yeah, it was dumb. Sucks. And that's literally all I have to say about this show.
I'm still looking to find that other
Okay, we'll find more things to
other
say
show.
about the show. It's not particularly well animated. Let's see. So
God
there's
damn,
this
I'm
one scene
going
where
back
she's
to
eating
winter now.
good food for the first time in ages, and there's this intensely overwrought music over it. That's like swelling with emotion. She can eat good food again, and I'm like, but you didn't earn that emotional moment. You spent like a minute with her in prison, maybe 2 if I'm being generous, and you just spent no time on it. How am I supposed to feel emotional for this character who I met 7 minutes ago, eating food for like eating good food for the first time in a while, when it's like I saw her eating bad food for like 2 minutes tops, probably only 1. Like, why do I care? Why do I care about this show at all? I don't know. I was forced to watch it for a podcast. Let's see. Yeah, that's literally all my notes about
Bad
it.
news. I could not. I couldn't find one from last this past year, but I swear to God that
There was
we have talked
absolutely
about
one.
a show exactly like this before. But I will not waste time searching for one. Let's see. Returner's magic should be special.
Hold on, I need to I need to go into my Google Doc to see. Okay. Oh yeah, so this is okay, now I remember this one. It took me a second. So this is the one with Herobrine Academy.
Yes. I did not make it past the first 5 minutes. I saw Herobrine Academy and then I dipped.
So what I did was yeah, I saw like the first okay, so there's this exposition dump that the main character does, who is mildly better designs than most of the other main characters of these shows. Still not that good looking though. And he says, "There's these dark worlds, and they're covering our worlds in black fog." And I saw that, I was like, "Okay, so it was written by a 13-year-old check, and there's this spooky monster CG check. Looks, I have in my notes. Damn, this is a cool looking PS2 game." And so he defeats he defeats the dragon, and then they're like, we're rid of the dark worlds. And I'm like, wait, hold on. So you're gonna set up this threat, then immediately it's done with. when we have no context for the fight scene at all, no context for who you are, no context for how many of these people you've seen die, no context for your struggles. After that, I just skipped forward a bit. Apparently, he gets reincarnated, and I don't know what happens, honestly. I just skipped forward and saw Herobrine Academy and laughed my ass off. Then made the meme and then dipped. You can Editron can flash the meme on screen. I'm very proud of it.
I'll put it on screen. I'll make a note of it right now. What's the timestamp? That one. Yeah, this one I deadass just blanked on this one. I made it 5 minutes. I was like, okay, lamest plot imaginable. These fantasy heroes get sent back in time to do their lame ass generic fantasy quest, but again, no thanks.
Why even have the time travel? What's the point?
Just start the story from the interesting part. Whatever. This one. A playthrough of a certain dude's VRMMO life. I also made it 5 minutes, and I was fast forwarding through those 5 minutes because this one was the most generic, the most milquetoast of these VRMMO
Hold
isekai ones.
On my notes, I have one note, and it's 4 words. Bad visuals, generic execution. I was so done with this one.
What does it say about your story when you purposefully obscure the face of your generic milquetoast main character before he gets into the VR MMO?
Yeah, so he's apparently an office worker and he's really tired of working, so he goes on a VRMMO game. Dude, this could have been, if you went like a Netjuno Susume route with this could have been good, but bro, you ain't Netjuno Susume. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, I barely made it into this show. I think we've literally exhausted everything we have to say. It's it's just nothing.
It's a nothing show. Okay, but these well, this next show is going to be, I feel like, the last one that we have something to talk about, and then we could just blaze through the last two. Migi and Dali. This one, the best way I can describe it is the "you never knew it, puss, but I was always there." The anime.
This show is weirdly creepy in a way that I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. It's so...
I feel like that's part of the joke. It's like, it's a bunch of goofy scenarios, but with a creepy undertone to it, because the show starts off with, I laughed my ass off when this happened, by the way, because I don't know the name of the song, but it's like, you know, that sad song that goes dun dun dun.
I literally instantly recognized that song and went, oh yeah, I've heard that like a billion other times.
Yeah, and it's played over a woman bleeding out and dying, who I can only presume is the kid's mom.
Yeah, I literally went back to that scene because I was like, why did they kill a person? Oh, she's blonde. She must be his mom. Well,
yeah, so mom. I think what's going on here is that the kids are secretly plotting to like go back to that village in particular because they're in this orphanage, and they hear that, hey, there's this elderly couple who's trying to adopt a kid, but they can only, because they're so old, they can only afford to have one kid, and they're going up to this village, and this is the particular village that the kids have an interest in, that I presume has something to do with their mother's killer. So I assume they're gonna Oshinoko the fuck out of this guy. So what they do is that because they're identical twins, they just repeatedly tag team in and out and hide the other, you know, under the dinner table, behind a wall, up in their bedroom, and just keep switching places to fulfill the roles of having this wonderful child of this elderly couple, fulfilling all their fantasies, like, oh, I wanted to bake a cherry pie with my son, or I wanted to carry my son on my shoulders even though I'm so old. And it is like, there is this undertone of creepiness with the parents, because I think the parents are kind of made out to be a little creepy with how badly they want to carry out these parental dreams. But I feel like that's gonna be made a red herring, and they just genuinely are good people that just did not have the opportunity to have kids and are using this as their chance to fulfill that dream. But then The creepiness comes from how Migi and Dali, they're not like, cause the goofy way you would have taken the show is to be like, as they get back to the room, like, oh man, this like swapping in and out thing is so hard, but it's like, but come on, Dolly, we got to do it that way. We both get food. They only have enough room in their lives for one kid, and we can't be separated because we love each other so much.
See,
So,
I want the
we're
goofy
gonna-
version of this show. That sounds so
I kind of
cute.
like the creepy.
I don't like
I kind of like the
creepy
creepy
version.
version.
It
It
feels,
adds a layer of
scenario.
intrigue to the onion.
But I don't want intrigue
Because
to
the
the
things
onion. I
that
want
they-
the onion
that-
to
that
be
they do-
adorable.
I don't know. I kind of like that because they're like porcelain doll twins, and they do like
They look
really
like
weird
skinwalkers.
acrobatics. Yeah, they're like pretty boy skinwalkers, and they do like these weird acrobatics to switch places under the table that is probably unrealistic to pull off, but the animation tricks you into thinking that it's like scientifically possible.
No, to me, it's just like the premise of hiding your twin in a house because they only, wanted to adopt one. It just seems like such a good setup for comedic situations. But then
I thought like the things that they do is still goofy, like how
they're
they
goofy,
animate
sure,
the
but
kids massaging the dad by repeatedly pounding and kneading his shoulders, like that's pretty goofy. And
yeah, it's goofy. But
the animation of them
undercurrent-
switching places at the dinner table is also goofy, but the creepiness of it is what adds that layer of intrigue. It's like, haha, I'm laughing now, but I'm worried that at one point these kids are gonna start finding the killer and start like, yo, come play with us before we melt.
I don't know. To me, it's like the undercurrent of creepiness made me not like the comedy as much, and then I don't know. It's just kind of uncomfortable to watch to me. It's not creepy enough.
I feel like
I'm
that's
so
part of the
hyped.
point. I feel like it's
See-
purposely uncomfortable. These
See,
kids
I know-
are
I
maniacal
know
geniuses.
it's supposed to be uncomfortable because I mean, obviously the soundtrack is emphasizing it. It's clearly supposed to be weird.
Yeah,
like the OP
fucking
is
love
fucking
the soundtrack.
trippy and all over the place, but it's like
I love the reveal that they set up the adoption from the start, where they caused the hat to fly away because they hooked it with a fishing line.
Oh, I don't
and
think I
they
got-
caused
I
the
got
rain
it.
on the car.
yeah. I didn't
Oh,
get that
you missed the
far.
best part of the episode.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
made
so
it about
remember when the
halfway
hat-
through this one. But yeah, I do remember the
Okay,
hat.
so you know how? Yeah, the hat blew away. It didn't actually blow away. One of the twins got it with a fishing line and pulled it back, and then it hit away so that the other twin could catch it. And they took a hose and they made it rain on the car. And the dog that the kid was holding an umbrella over wasn't actually a real dog. It was made out of clay.
To be fair, the rain started super suddenly, so I knew something was up with the rain for sure. But
Yeah, I like the darkness to it.
it's just not a cool darkness, not a darkness that makes me intrigued to watch more of it. It's just kind of uncomfortable. I don't like it. And also the show just looks like
being
ass.
this uncomfortable.
The backgrounds look terrible. They are Tomazaki
Okay, yeah,
looking
the backgrounds, yes.
and
the
yet
characters not
they
so
look
much.
even worse than Tomazaki's backgrounds somehow. Well, except for the latter parts of Tomazaki, that one became ridiculously bad. But yeah, like I don't know, it doesn't look that good. It's not that funny, honestly. It's got some neat ideas. It's far from the worst show in this block. Obviously.
I'd stick with it just to see like
I ain't
how
sticking with
creepy
it.
is it gonna get.
Nah, I'm putting it straight in the drop tier.
Zam. Well, I will be throwing Firefighter, Daigo, Rescuer, and Orange in the bad tier because I only made it like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, so I have two notes for this. Tensionless quote-unquote action scene with city burning. Yeah, it didn't hook me. Okay, those are my 2 notes.
Bro, that's like a war-torn city amount of fires. That
Yeah,
is not like
It is
firefighter burning building. The military should be out here. I thought we got like fucking carpet bombed in Japan.
Yeah, like it is ridiculous. And it is
It's like the
kind of
entire city of Tokyo is like the buildings are destroyed and on fire. There is so not enough firefighters to put this shit out.
See, it
This is like
looks
post-apocalypse.
like it's a cool set piece, but then you actually watch the show and you're like, oh, it's just some dude saving people.
Normal ass firefighters.
Like, but why do I care about these firefighters? What did they do?
Like this
to
is the kind of
deserve me
scale that
watching
yeah,
them?
like this is the kind of scale that I expect in something like Fire Force, not like actual realistic grounded firefighters.
See, if you're gonna make a firefighter anime about ordinary firefighters, first of all, yeah, like not like citywide fires, probably. But secondly, start with not fire. Start with like some dude in his ordinary life. Get to know him. Get to know his struggles. Get to know why he became a firefighter. Get to know why he, like, what are his thoughts about the job.
It's called in media res, Crunchy.
God, in media res makes me want to fucking strangle people. In media res is the worst invention known to man. It sucks in anime. All these generic anime anyway. Your fucking shit sucks. Start with the interesting part of your show, not some dumb action scene that I couldn't.
But
care
the
less about.
firefighting is the interesting part.
That's not if you don't have investment in the characters.
But do you have investment in the in underground rap, like in Paradox Live, the animation?
I hated the song, and that pretty much made it an insta drop for me.
Yeah.
They call themselves Bay. I want to fucking die.
Like, okay, that's not the worst, but then like their songs are borderline Mori Calliope tier, and I was like, no, I already had to be subjected to I go sneaking like I'm Snake. I'm not doing that shit, man.
The CG is stylized. Like, it's not terrible looking
I
CG.
dig. Yeah, I expect a Vlusky the Husky video on it like real soon, next month.
Well, see,
I
something
dig
about
the
animation
underground club aesthetic.
Yeah, the aesthetic is cool. Something about the 3D animation was off. It almost felt blurry, but there wasn't any actual
the crowds.
The crowds look terrible.
Yeah, they're just
Like,
black silhouettes, and I get that you can't. Well, no, you could totally get away with it in 3D because you could copy paste the character models.
Well, I don't even mind the fact that they're black per se, but like it wasn't done right. You know, you didn't blend it in well. But yeah, I quit this
performances. Yeah, I made it 5 minutes in. I watched the first performance and I skipped to the end for the inevitable second performance, and both of them were very Mori Calliope-esque, and I cannot put myself through that.
I did not even go through the second song. I just heard the first one and went, this sucks. This song is ass.
Yeah, I'm trying to get more into rap, but this is not it, Chief.
I don't even like rap to begin with, and this sure ain't gonna get me into it.
You don't like songs about drugs and sex and killing people, Crunchy?
Well, you know, that last one is pretty relatable, but other than that, no.
Yeah, with that, we have made it through the fall 2023 season. Overall, compared to all the past season, better than winter.
Yeah, winter had nothing.
Better than summer, because summer only had a couple decent shows.
So summer, I'm gonna look back at all the shows I have listed for summer. Yeah,
like Zom 100 was the only like unequivocal good. Well, actually, I haven't seen much of
Undead Girl Murder Farce.
I put that up there with Zom 100. But then there's like, you know, the decent ones like Dark Gathering, Helk, Level 1 Hero. Spring. This one's not as good as Spring. We didn't get as many bangers as Spring.
Well, Spring is gonna be easily the best season of the year. Like, nothing's gonna beat that.
We got Oshinoko, Hell's Paradise, Heavenly Delusion, Mashal.
Yeah.
I have faith that even though I haven't seen it past the first episode, I would probably think that Yamada-kun Level 99 is gonna be good. Skip and Loafer, I have no doubt, is a banger, and I just need to watch it. Insomniacs After School, I need to finish.
Yeah, like, nothing is obviously approaching Spring. The real question to me is Is it better than Summer? So,
Yeah, I think it's better than Summer.
hmm.
Because with Summer, we only got Zom 100 and whatchamacallit,
Undead Girl
Undead Girl
Murder
Murder Farce.
Farce?
This one we got Fraven, we got Undead Unluck. We got we have a lot more decent shows. Because we got 100 Girlfriends, we got Apothecary Diaries, we got Shangri-La Frontier, we got Villainess, we've got
Well, see, I
what is
disagree
right
with
now?
some of your decent
Shy,
picks, but this does
Shy
have
is
Shangri. This I think has
Telepath.
3 really good shows, or I guess really good first episodes slash 4 if we're counting Freerin as 4 episodes. But
Yeah, Irregular Witch,
yeah,
Migi
the thing
Dali.
is, this show just had such a. See, this show had some, or this season has some really, really low lows of just not even like intolerable garbage. Like, and it's not even that each individual show in isolation was the worst thing ever, but it's that they're all so similar. They all bleed together so much. Whereas, fucking Summer, I don't think it had as many completely generic shows.
I think it did.
It didn't have quite
take a
that.
quick
I'm
peek back
looking
through
at it.
Summer.
It had am I actually the strongest? My unique skill makes me well, that's every isekai. Fucking Reign of the
Classroom for
Seven Spell
Heroes,
Blades. Yeah, Eiyu
Great
Koshitsu.
Cleric,
Liar Liar.
from Villainess to
And
wait,
then
was that
Vending
the one?
Machine Isekai is
Okay, that was the one. Okay,
Oh,
most heretical last boss queen. That was the same kind of thing as Tearmoon Empire.
most heretical last boss queen. Where do I have that on my list? I don't even see it. Did I not write it down? God damn. Oh, I
From
probably didn't even watch
last
it.
season.
Oh wait, hold on. Which was the season where I just skipped all the isekai? Maybe this is
Was
making
that
my views
Summer?
biased. Was that Summer?
Did you watch Classroom for Heroes?
Yeah, I did.
Did you skip My Unique Skill Makes Me OP?
No, I didn't. So yeah, I didn't skip all the isekai this one.
Okay. Hey, last summer had Dreaming Boy as a Realist, the worst first episode you've ever seen.
Yeah, it did have that, but at the very least,
It had the
Dreaming
girl I
Boy
like
is a
forgot her
realist.
glasses.
See, Dreaming Boy is a realist is so fucking bad. It doesn't go on to, lovable hatred like Rent a Girlfriend. It goes to pure, blinding, horrible agony. But at the same time, it is something I do want to watch just because. Just to, first of all, make a video on it, but just to have seen it. Just to know it's the worst thing ever. At the very least, there's something compelling about the lowest of the low for Summer. But with this season, I was like, God damn. Like, I wouldn't want to watch any of the bad shows.
Of the shows that I've dropped, I dropped a couple of these that I could if I had didn't have a million better shows to watch, like Tearmoon Empire. I guess I wouldn't.
Nah,
It wouldn't be the worst
I
thing
wouldn't.
ever. Ron Kaminohashi. No, I would. It would not be a terrible experience. Uh, what was that? The Vexations of Shut-In Vampire Princess. Not the worst thing ever.
I feel like I have to put this under Summer for now. Maybe I'll change my mind once we get
I
to
feel
the
like we had too
overall
many
ranking.
decent. Yeah, I feel like if I watch more of these shows, I'm sure opinions will change come the time of the when the anime awards roll around and we dunk on that again.
But it was like this season just had so much sludge, so much stuff that I felt like I was forcing myself through. Whereas last season, like, sure, a lot of it was stuff I was forcing myself through, but at the same time, it did have Zom 100, and it did have Dark Gathering and Undead Girl Murder Farce, and it did have Vending Machine Isekai. That's the greatest show ever made. Come on.
It was peak.
I guess
All right,
this
so
season
now that
has
leaves
higher, well, maybe not higher highs because of Zom 100 being so good, but at the same time, Okay, more of the highs, but also
too
more
early to
of the lows.
it's too early to talk about that. Well, I guess if we're comparing first episodes,
Yeah.
Zom 100 is I'm trying to. Did I say that I liked Zom 100's first episode more than Oshinoko's first episode? But then again, I guess I'd be cheating. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to say. Oshinoko has the benefit of having a movie for its first episode, so I guess that's a fair thing to levy against it. Uh, yeah, but I feel like once we've seen like the entirety of Freerun, the entirety of Undead Unluck, see how the other shows that we've put in the like good to decent tier end up being, we'll get a clearer picture.
Yeah, so now it's time for top 3 and bottom 3.
All right, so I'll go first. Actually, no. You know what? No, you go first because I need a little more time to figure out my bottom 3.
My bottom 3 is actually something that I need to figure out more too, because I had one written down, but I'm not sure if I actually agree with it looking at it. Because
I think let's start in that case. Let's start with the bottom 3. Let's change it up a little. I'll go first because I have.
All right.
Yeah, I think I have my bottom 3. I know which shows belong in it. I just need to figure out the order. So I think at third worst, I'll put A Girl and Her Guard Dog, because not only did it look like shit, it's also just no, no, thank you. Good day, sir. Second worst is I was gonna have it as my first worst, but then I realized that I could totally watch more episodes of Kami Arabi and like be like entertained at how bad it is. But yeah, so Kami Arabi takes my second worst, and then VRMMO Life to represent all of the shitty fantasy native isekai bullshit, whatever. That's my worst, because that one I tapped out the fastest to, so I'd imagine that prolonged exposure of it will just kill me.
So, Kami Arabi is nowhere near my bottom 3 actually, and the reason being, although it is atrocious in every conceivable way, it has personality. And that is something that almost every single one of these fucking generic fantasy isekai shows doesn't have. Which means that because the way I figured it out is, which show would I rather watch? Which show would be the least painful experience? Kami Arabi would definitely be less painful than all these fucking isekai. So...
Well, I'm trying to not flood my bottom 3 with shitty fantasy isekai. I'm trying to pick one to represent the worst of them all.
Alright, you know what? I'm probably gonna continue down that line of thinking. So for number 3, if we're only choosing one isekai, because that does elucidate things quite a bit. Inexperienced Me and Experienced Her, whatever it was called, it has the beginning of ideas, but it looks like shit, and the main character is just so obnoxious. I hated every second of it. It was fucking terrible. I hated it. Number 2 is probably A Girl and Her Guard Dog, because ditto your reasons. It's just the grooming anime. Looks terrible. It is the fucking worst. It's like
it's the grooming anime. It doesn't even have the gall to be like good looking.
Yeah. Like, it's less obnoxious than Inexperienced Me, but more depraved feeling and more just horrible to experience and lifeless. The number 1 would probably be a lot of these isekai. But god, that's actually a tough choice. That is, because I sort of have all my isekai scattered about, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't even know which one is the worst. I guess I'll go with Butareba, even though if I had to choose one I'd sooner watch, I'd probably pick Butareba over other shows, just because it has a pig. But it's horrible. The dynamic between the characters is so creepy feeling and so weird and just so uncomfortable to sit through. It is not something I would want to put myself through ever. There are probably other isekai that would be more boring, but if I'm just choosing one to highlight like the most notably worst of the generic fantasy and isekai, this would be it.
Yeah, and then go ahead and state your top three because I got a curveball for my top three. And I
All
want it to be a
right, I am very
surprise.
excited for it. So you already know my top two, but number three might surprise you. Shangri-La Frontier. So
You like Shangri-La Frontier more than a regular witch?
yeah, shockingly. Even though I do really,
Damn.
really like Irregular Witch, I think Shangri-La Frontier, it looks better, at least for its first episode. I hear that changes, but holding out hope for now. No, huffing the copium just a little bit. I love the main character. I love the idea of the angry video game nerd going through a fucking VRMMO. He has such a nice personality. Funny. It's just funny to have the Birdman navigating the world. You can't beat that. I definitely enjoyed my time with it. At number two, Undead Unluck. Tons of personality between the two main characters. Shaftisms aplenty. It's just good shit. And at number one, God, literally, I'm gonna read out my Discord status to you as my explanation for why it's the top pick. Freerin brain rot. That is literally my Discord status right now.
Because you haven't
Because
been able to stop thinking about
I
Free Rent
literally
since you
have
watched
not
it.
been able to stop thinking about Freerin since I finished the first 4 episodes. It has been on my mind consistently. It is such a
I think you've
breathtaking and
been
magical experience.
Yeah, I think you're more in love with it than I am because it has left my general like bubble of thought at times. Like I'm always thinking like hey, we're gonna come back to it eventually for the podcast, but it's like it hasn't been like living rent free in my head like it has. It sounds like it has been for you.
Listen, the only thing in my brain right now is that Freerin Fumo.
Yeah, the fragrant plush of her getting eaten by the mimic.
It's gonna be in my house soon, and my house is gonna be way better for it.
All right, so as for my top three, I've got a regular witch. I came around to my the because I said earlier before the podcast started, I think that my first and second picks were obvious. My third place pick was a three-way tie between Hoshikuzu Telepath, uh, 100 Girlfriends, and a regular witch. And you said, well, let's talk about the shows, and then we'll hopefully that'll decide. Yeah, talking about it, a regular witch took it because it's not only funny, but it's also wholesome, it's sweet, and it has the best character of the year in the form of Phoenix Man. So yeah, that's just gonna be a treat. I am looking forward to watching more episodes of it. Second place is Freerin. It's everything that's already been said about it. It's real atmospheric. It's real uh introspective journey about mortality for an immortal and how even like despite the benefit of immortality that she will go on to understand and appreciate the limited time that others have on earth and have her value more of her time. And then Undead Unluck gets the top of the list because it's a cool shonen. It's got really cool concepts, really fun characters. It's a lot of high energy. Uh, really excited to see where that one goes. And then I actually lied because my number one anime of the season is going to be Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
But that hasn't come out yet, so
Yeah, it
who
hasn't, but I'm
knows?
I'm I'm calling my shot right now. It's gonna even after if I watch the first episode before because it's all gonna come out at once. But once the first episode comes out and I watch it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, this is my anime this season. It's on track to be my anime of the year. Probably like that could very well be the
God
case.
damn. We shall see what I think of it, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm thinking back to everything that we watched this year. Like I know the last thing I said was that Zom 100 was on track to be my anime of the year, but now that's gonna be disqualified from being that. I'm thinking like what other shows we watched this year because I'm looking at spring and I'm like Oshinoko that was an 8, Hell's Paradise that was an 8, Heavenly Delusion that ended up being a 7. I mean Skip and Loafer might have been like a really high score. I'd have to finish it, but I really don't think, because like everything about this Scott Pilgrim anime, like looks like it was tailor made for me. It's got the Science Saru staff. It's got the original movie dub, movie cast for its dub. It looks like Trigger made it. Like that, it's like the Holy Trinity right there. I really don't think there's going to be any chance of it losing my graces. At the very least this season. Maybe if it ends up being my anime of the year, who knows? I think it might, as long as it like hits as hard as I think it's going to.
Now prepare for a month from now when we make the video on Scott Pilgrim and Neon opens up saying with the YouTuber sigh that lets it all out.
With the YouTuber apology sigh.
I've made a severe.
God, that'll be my 13th reason why if the Scott Pilgrim anime sucks ass. No way. It won't be. It can't be bad. It can't be bad. Maybe it'll just be a 7 out of 10, but it can't be bad.
And if you want us to be your 13th reason why.
If you made it through all collective 7 hours of this fall 23 podcast, you're a fucking trooper. We appreciate the high CTR. I think the CTR last I checked was about 5% of the part 1, which is great for the podcast.
Hell yeah, my thumbnail doing its job.
Yeah, the views have been coming in. It's already up to like 48 watch hours, I think, so which is based. So if you enjoy the podcast, please let us know in the comments what you think is your favorite. Tell us your favorite shows from this season. What your least favorite shows are. Tell us why you like them so much, and what shows we should cover from this season on the podcast. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of Castaway Anime when it comes out. As for coming attractions, we've got Jujutsu Kaisen, we'll get Frieren, we'll get Spy Family Season 2, maybe if we we'll get Scott Pilgrim, we got Ghost in the Shell, the movie coming out. Maybe if we find some time, we can sneak Undead Unluck in there. We'll see how the schedule pans out. But if you're looking forward to that, then subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Who knows, maybe I'll even get a goddamn video out before the end of the year. Lol.
Well, you got 2 months left. Chop, Manta boy.
Alright, well, I guess I better get to work. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.